Perfect.
Episode 120, my friend.
120.
The third one of this year. Yeah, it was either podcast or band, Yeah, I'm choosing band every time. Had another opportunity to get back into it. So, saw you briefly the other day. You're kind of...
I was all over the place.
Yeah.
Had a good night. I mean, it's been really good, but staying busy. Staying
very
busy.
That's a fun show, that group of dudes.
They really
Wayne's
are
World
cool.
Or whatever they go. Did they go as Mad Dogs and Irishmen on
Mad
that
Dogs
night?
and Irishmen on for the St. Patrick's Day, and it's the Wayne's World band. When it's not, I usually have them 2 to 3 times a year. I think half of them are retired now.
Yeah,
so
there's a wide age
there
group in
is.
that. I don't know how their older drummer is, but he seems to be younger than me, probably. And then you go all the way up to 70s. I mean,
yeah.
Of course, Michael Kimple's in his 60s now, which is wild to think.
Yeah, I think Wayne himself is about the age of my father, so mid 70s.
Yeah,
but they sound great. They're
fun.
They're a lot of fun.
They're fun.
A lot of fun, and that's a big part of it. And I tell people all the time that you don't have to be the most technically proficient band out there.
No,
if you want to be a successful band, you have to learn how to connect to people.
Yeah, no, it's all about that.
I've had some great artists that played to an empty room.
Yeah,
because they couldn't figure out how to connect to anyone.
Yeah.
And I've had other people that were almost painful to listen to.
Yeah.
But it packs the place out.
Isn't that funny how that works?
It is.
I mean, you take a band like Nirvana, for instance. Other than Dave Grohl, but like Kurt himself was average at best at guitar and vocals both, but he had a knack for songwriting. I don't know what it was like in the club days when he was playing in Seattle, how he was relating to crowds or all that, but when you take it to a global level, even then, you don't have to be the most technically proficient. To be successful, you just got to have a good hook.
They've proven that time and time again. There's been so many hit songs that there was no substance to it whatsoever.
None. But AI's writing songs now.
Oh my gosh! And man, I see that one easily. See both sides of it, because on one hand, I can imagine as an artist. I'll first to say I'm not an artist. It's extremely frustrating, and it's very easy to say, well, it's not organic. I agree with that. Okay. Does that mean it doesn't have any merit? No.
Not necessarily.
It just means that it's not organic.
Right.
I hate to admit it, but the auto industry quality control got much better when we took the human element out of it and robots started building cars.
Right.
And there's a lot of other things. Now that we have autopilot piloting planes, guess what? They are way safer.
The chances it improves your safety immensely.
The technology's not there yet, but it's well on its way.
It's very damn close.
Maybe in the twilight of our years, we will see a point that AI-operated vehicles are the mainstay, and I'll bet dollars to dimes right now that when they finally get to that point and the technology is not there yet, they will be safer than human beings driving vehicles.
And I don't think it's in the twilight. I think it's around the corner quicker. I think within the next decade.
It's the hardest thing right now is the reaction time.
Right.
And it's AI still has a lot to learn on predicting what a danger is. It can predict something coming at you.
Right.
But there's a huge difference to know that, you and I know that if we're driving down the road and there's a deer standing perfectly still on the side of the road, you take your foot off the gas.
Sure.
AI says, oh, that's a stationary object. I'm just going to keep going.
True.
So
how does it recognize visually the cues and stuff? But it does feel like AI is on an exponential growth rate. So, you talk about AI a year ago was jack shit compared to the stuff it's doing now.
I think it's a buzzword right now. I think AI is the buzzword, and everyone's getting super excited about it. AI's been around a long time now. Has AI gotten better and better? Yes, it has. But now it's starting to be more used. Even taking something like, ChatGPT, Claude, that's it. They are more approachable, and people are amazed at what they have the ability to do. And as I've always said, I want AI to take over the mundane tasks, so I can have time to devote what I enjoy doing.
Right.
And I think we all love the thought of that. It's not, I don't want you to create the poetry. I want you to clean my house so I can create poetry.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the big fear is, are we heading towards Star Trek or Terminator 2? You know what I mean? It all depends on who programs it and the rate at which it learns and what its fail safes are. I just read a really interesting novel that was self-published. I can't remember the author's name. It's called the Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, dude creates an AI, and it has 3 rules. One, never harm a human being, even if by doing nothing it causes harm. You must take action. The second one is always obey human beings unless it contradicts number 1. And number 3 is you self-preserve unless it conflicts with 2 or 1. But then it shows the loopholes and how the AI can, it basically has to protect everyone from themselves, so it takes every element of freedom away and puts people in these digital kind of space, cyberspace, basically, right? Where you can't hurt yourself, and then life becomes meaningless.
Carlin said it best when he said, you have 2 options. You have freedom or you have safety. Which one would you prefer?
Yeah.
Because you can't have it both ways.
There's an old Franklin quote about that, too. Yeah, if you give up your freedom for safety, something like that. I can't remember the exact quote.
And it's just a matter of, we all have to draw our line as to what are we willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And in a lot of things, we're willing to sacrifice a lot for the appearance of safety. Whether it's effective or not, who's to say?
Or convenience.
Exactly.
And the problem with that is, and you've seen it even in my generation, my kids' generation, people don't know how to do shit anymore. People used to change their own oil. I mean, that was just what you did. It was unheard of to take your car to a mechanic to pay, to do the oil. Now, almost nobody does their own oil.
And there's a certain level, I do believe that there's how much is your time worth?
Absolutely.
And I think that it's largely socioeconomic. At least that's where it starts, because that's the grand scheme of things. The wealthier you become, the less you do on a personal basis, and the more you do what you want to do.
Right.
You pay people to do those things.
Exactly.
Necessity is the mother of invention. When you can't afford to send your car to a mechanic, guess what? You're going to figure out how to fix it on your own.
It was like talking to my dad. My son's getting into dirt bikes now, and it's like talking to these guys who were doing it in the 70s. My son's got Dad and Rick Owens at 62 Cycles to go and ask and stuff. And back then, I was like, how'd you guys do it? And they're like, we just had to figure it out. If you wanted to ride it, you figured it out.
Yes. You
learned what connected to this. You got the damn manual out. You couldn't, even if there was a mechanic around, which there usually wasn't for miles, there was no internet. You just fucking had to figure it out.
That's right.
We don't have to figure it out anymore. In fact, just like a TV, called a TV repair guy. It's been several years now, but he goes, man, I'm out of business. He goes, it's cheaper to buy a new TV than to fix them now. So
And that's the way so many things. Electronic repair has basically gone the way of the dodo, other than personal electronic devices like phones, tablets, etc. But as far as TVs go, you're going to pay a guy, what it's worth for them to be able to stock parts, to hold on, to fix everything. There are things that, in the grand scheme of things, have gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. TVs are one of them.
Oh, absolutely. We paid oh my God. Can't remember what we paid for our first TV when we got married. It was like $1,300. And I think we paid $300-$400 for that 62-inch TV.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
And it just keeps going farther and farther. And I laugh because every few years, I can't even say that. It's probably 6 to 8 years. I look and I go, okay, well, this TV, I can give this one to my friend and now pay even less for a new big TV.
Yeah, exactly. And you're helping somebody out.
Yeah.
Hooking somebody up.
That's it. And somebody did that to me, and that's kind of how it all started. And I went, okay.
I love keeping it going. Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
But yeah, man, TVs have gotten huge and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. You catch them just before the Super Bowl. I think, I want to say I bought mine. Well, the last one I bought was 2020, just as we were all going to spend a lot of time at home. And I ended up buying a 75-inch, and it was ridiculous. It was less than $700.
God, dog.
And I just went, okay, so, you have it. Then you throw it in the living room and go, holy cow, that's huge.
It's a theater.
It is.
It's a theater.
It's
especially, even a 62-inch like this, when you're this close, it's like watching a damn movie. We got surround sound in it. Well, not surround sound. We got the speakers out. It's like a theatrical experience. And it's no wonder the theaters sales are so down. Of course, movies are trash anyway. Nowadays, you've got, you're doing nothing but, I think Hollywood is so risk averse that it's like, we know what formulas and algorithms work. we'd rather do that and make this margin versus doing something totally new.
They're trying to figure out how to still get paid simply because the entire industry has changed. Movies used to be the predominant outlet, not just for entertainment, but also newsreels. That's where a lot of people got their news. So
for a long time.
You went to the movie theater on a Saturday afternoon, you saw what was going on, you watched a movie, and you went from there. Now, it's great because when we do go to a movie theater, we love the fact that we have a nice reclining seat and they'll bring food to us. But the aforementioned 75-inch TV is why a lot of us don't go to the movie theaters like we used to.
Back in the day, it was an experience to go to a theater. Now you basically are recreating it at home. Your TV at home was usually this big, had lines through it in a few places, maybe a dark spot. You know, when I was a kid, we were all poor. We just had whatever worked, and we kept it until it just went out. You know,
and you ran with it. But now everyone's got a theater at home. You don't need the experience. It's got to be a pretty heavy action movie for me.
And it's expensive, especially if you got a family.
That's
it's over $100 for us to go to the theater.
Yes.
So it's got to be a damn big movie.
We're old enough to remember that 92-cent midnight matinee.
Professional. Most professional podcast on the internet, folks, when I leave my phone on.
We love it.
That's why we do it. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's different. It's changed. It's gotten expensive. And Hollywood's trying to figure out how to make money, what they need to do.
Well, they also have a huge competitor in Netflix, Hulu, and the home streaming.
It's not even the competitor now. I was kind of shocked. I did go see something a while back. I mean, a couple weeks ago. But
what'd you go see?
What was it? It wasn't even that memorable because I'm blanking on what it was.
Oh shit! That must have not been that
good. It wasn't that good. I remember thinking like, that was very mad. But what surprised me was a couple of things that were still in the theater were also currently being shown on Netflix. So, and I don't know what the right answer to that is. If you're Hollywood, it's like, do you take the check from Netflix and go ahead and say, okay, you can have it here, but now you're literally sabotaging the movie theater because now we have even less of a reason to go to a movie theater.
Exactly.
Because there are certain people that are always going to be the early adopters. I'm not an early adopter.
Neither am I.
There has been a handful.
I used to be, but then it kind of got out of control. Like DVDs, when DVDs came out, CDs, it's all over that shit.
Yeah, you want to be all about it. And there's some movies, like the Star Wars movies, I saw them the first weekend every time they came out.
Same here.
There were a couple that I even did the early Tuesday when it would drop early on Tuesday and then not show again until Friday.
Right.
I would run out and check that out. But, man, there hasn't been anything that I've thought, man, I really want to see that in quite a while.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. I want to get into that a little bit because somebody just posted, I saw on Facebook, like just a list of movies from the 80s. And I'm going down these titles going classic, 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 classic. When was the last classic we had in America that we produced that's like going to be memorable 50 years from now?
Old school.
And how old is that?
Yeah.
We've been watching the American Pie movies.
You know, John Wick. I would say the John Wick franchise has probably been the last solid thing. But I'm going to say something really unpopular right now. I'm tired of Hollywood taking every successful franchise and saying, okay, we're just going to revamp it and go girl power, and all of a sudden the girl's going to save the day. And yeah, it's really easy to say, well, Adam, you're a guy, and they've been doing that your entire life. The men have always been the one in charge. Here's I'm really going to push, and I'm going to get really unpopular. If I were in the military and my leg just got blew off and there were two people to drag me back, I'm going to hope that the guy in my platoon is there. And that's not because I am some misogynist, but I also am very honest with the fact that I'm 5'10", 265 pounds.
Right.
I think there's a little better chance that a equally sized man is going to be able to throw me over his shoulder and carry me out.
Well,
harsh truth.
Two things here. First of all, that shouldn't be unpopular. And second of all, my problem is that they especially tying it back to the entertainment thing, they've made it to where women have to basically be men to be strong characters.
Yes. When
you can say Ellen Ripley was feminine, Princess Leia was feminine, and I can go on. Like, you can be feminine and be a strong character. You don't have to be a man, and you don't have to do it at the expense of the man being a bitch. Because that's what I see a lot, like with the Rey saga, with the new Star Wars movies, right? All the men were weak, and she was the strong one, and she was very masculine, you know?
The remake has gotten old, whether it be Ghostbusters, whether it be the
and
Star
people
Wars.
are sick of it.
Just get an independent new story like Alien and have your heroine. Stop with the Mad Max Fury Road.
Enough.
And let's go back and allow them to be separate and have each give equally.
Yeah.
I'm all about equality.
Yeah.
But I'm also
well, here's a great example. One Piece. Extremely diverse. But it's not forced diversity. Cobra Kai was a very diverse show, right? It wasn't forced diversity. It was very natural. It didn't feel awkward. But One Piece is based on an anime, which is based on a manga that's been going on since '97, and the TV show's been going on since like 2001, and it's still going. One of the longest running animes out there. But Netflix took it on in 2022, and I'm sure you've seen some anime. Most Western audiences are not down with that kind of stuff. It's even a little much for me. But the way they translate, they really leaned into the ridiculousness of it, but still made it for Western audiences. And the first season, I didn't watch the first season when it came out. I just didn't really interest me. But I had heard great things. The second season was about to come out, so like we were looking for something to watch as a family, and we watched it. And it was completely new. It was completely fresh. There's a hero who's a white hero, which you don't. Game of Thrones kind of ruined the white knight kind of character. Which Game of Thrones was great in isolation, but then everybody tried to copy it, and so there's no good guys anymore. Everybody's just a piece of shit. And there's a character in the show that's just a good guy.
Who was a good guy in Game of Thrones?
Ned Stark, and we know what happened to him.
Yeah, but even there, take him back. I understand he was protecting Jon Snow, but he lied to his wife. Lied to everyone around him.
And if you bitch about this being a spoiler alert, that book's been out for 25 years. So,
there is the rare occasion when I think a franchise or something pulls it off extremely well, and the one that comes to mind to me is Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah,
I will argue with anyone that movie is as good as the original.
I've heard it's even better. I haven't actually watched it yet.
That's a good argument to make. But you said something earlier that I thought was perfect in that respect. That movie is not forced, but and I tell people when they watch it, I say, did you notice anything about the cast? And everyone goes, oh, they were all really good. They were young. Some actors I didn't know, yada, yada, yada. I said, did you notice how diverse it was? It was an extremely diverse, but they didn't make that the focal point of the story.
Well, I think that's the problem, is that they start with the wokeness, and then they try and write a story around it and have no idea what they're doing. Whereas if you have good story, and then just cast it diversely, nobody's going to care. Because it's not going to feel like we're pushing this agenda on you.
I think it's hilarious when you really start thinking about the whole thing is the people pulling the strings are not making entertainment for themselves. They are making entertainment for others. Okay. Do you think that all the directors in Hollywood and all of the producers in Hollywood, do you think that they have strong woke values?
I very seriously doubt it.
Of course not.
Yeah.
But they're very conscientious because they feel that's what the audience wants.
Right.
And I don't know what the right answer to that is, because you take something that was somewhat popular, Super Bowl halftime show this year. People lost it on both sides for all different reasons. Okay?
Why do people get so invested in a thing that, like, I didn't even give a fuck? It was like, why is this a thing? It's nobody watched it. Like, for me, I'm an NFL fan, though, so I have to say, like, half times when I'm up getting dishes and doing shit, so I never watched it.
I stopped watching pro sports many years ago, and
not because it's rigged.
Okay, sports gambling. Now it is
Oh, it's just
The curtain
it's
has been
ruined.
pulled
It's
back.
been pulled back 100%.
And if anyone out there honestly believes that every sport is not being affected directly by sports gambling, you are naive or you are lying to yourself, because there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
How does that actually operate?
Well, sports gambling itself, it's very simple. Now
It's always been
legalized.
around, but now it's
Yes.
ubiquitous. Like,
Yeah,
I
now
mean,
it is, and anyone can do it.
Everybody's doing it.
So,
Is
Adam
it driving?
Morano is playing for Arkansas, and the over/under is Adam Morano is going to score 28 points in this half.
Right.
I'm at 26 points, but I know the over/under is 28 points. Right. I'm gonna give all this nice NIL money I just got to my good friend Brad and tell him, oh yeah, hey, go put a $20,000 wager on the under for me. Under. And guess what? Adam only scores 27 points, and we both get a payday.
Yeah.
And if we don't think that's going on again, it's lying. And am I
It's
saying
pretty
that
sad.
every single athlete is like that? No.
No. I don't think
I'm
so at all.
saying that I guarantee every athlete knows of another athlete.
I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs, not this season, but the prior season, was that the Taylor Swift Bowl 2 years ago? The one where they were accused of the refs getting them to the Super Bowl, basically. I don't think the team knew about any of that.
No,
I don't think the coaches knew anything about that. I think the NFL really did fucking rig that season for them.
It's again, the curtain's being pulled back in so many ways because they're going to people talk about college football and the Chiefs right now are the same way. Alabama is going to put more fans in the stand than Boise State.
100%.
All things being equal, you have a coin flip, and Boise maybe was had a little better season. Guess what? Alabama's going to get the spot because at the end of the day, it is a business.
Yeah, sports is a business. It's always been a business.
And NIL, let me rant on that one for just a minute. I just kind of laugh.
Your show, brother.
NIL was started because all the college athletes were saying, hey, listen, you've been making millions off of us. You're making hundreds of millions. We deserve a little bit
Explain
of that.
Explain what NIL stands for.
Name, image, and likeness.
Which is basically your character.
Yes. So there again, I'm a college football player, and I've gotten put on the cover of Madden, and my university gets paid hundreds of millions of dollars, but I didn't make any of it. So now they've said, yes, you do deserve that. Right. And all the court cases were figured out. So, all right, athletes, we can now give them money directly. We call it NIL. They're still not employees because they don't want to breach that and now have collective bargaining, et cetera.
So how do you feel about that? Because it isn't really fair that they don't get shit.
Oh,
but it's also ruined
unfair.
Everything.
It has ruined everything.
So two things can be true at once.
So let's and maybe that's why I'm falling out of favor with sports. I mean, Brad, I used to be able to tell you
I hate it.
Every player from every team, and I was notoriously good at
that
bowl
way with
pick'ems.
The NFL.
Yes, and the NCAA bracket.
And every year I'm a little
anymore.
less.
Yep.
I'm back kind of into it because my kids are watching with me, and so that's kind of reinvigorated me. But I'm also like. I've watched Peyton Manning's first game and his last. Like I've lived through careers.
Sure.
And like John Elway was what I loved about football. That's when I got into football. He was my hero, right? And so I've hated Kansas City a long time. This isn't anything new. So that's the division rival, right? So we had a lot of tough games when Trent Green was there. God damn it, I hated Trent Green so much. You respected him. He was a worthy opponent. But, man, I loved John Elway.
KC puts a lot of fans in the stands.
Oh, shit,
and their merchandising
especially now.
is going crazy.
Andy Reid getting fired from Philadelphia was the best thing that could have happened to him.
That's kind of one of those look back and they go, oh, yeah, maybe.
But Philly's done well since.
They have.
It worked out
and
both
different
ways.
People, it's a combination. You've got to have that perfect storm of the right players with the right coach, with the right management, with the right ownership.
Why do you think Bill Belichick was successful for so long? Because he did nothing but fail after Brady left. But I don't think it was all Brady.
No, absolutely not. It was a combination of all things, but at the same time, I think he was also the last bastion of playing as a team. Tom Brady couldn't do it on his own. Tom Brady was surrounded by some great people.
Absolutely.
Just like,
but they also had the ability, because as everybody knows, there's that Super Bowl curse, right? You win the Super Bowl, and the next year people just fucking weed at you, and they take all your guys, and then the next year you're not the same team, right?
But at the end of the day, why does that happen? It's because of what I just said, which is, I just won the Super Bowl. I have no loyalty to this team anymore.
Right.
That team's going to pay me. So don't tell me you're doing it. You're not doing it for the glory. You're not doing it to win championships.
Sure.
You're doing it at the end of the day to make money. And I'll never fault someone, because we all choose what our vocation is.
But guys like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning took pay cuts.
They did. And that's what it was. That's why they were able to build and
playing
sustain
as a team, to your point, but also they did rotate a lot of guys out, and they were still successful.
They
Wes
were.
Welker, and name that slot position. How many guys were in that? But they were still successful, even though they had new guys coming in and out. Josh McDaniels has been there for a long time. Well, gone and back and all that, but it was a pretty incredible thing to watch in real time.
Sure.
Over the years,
and I have a few people that are regulars, and even one of my bartenders, hardcore Kansas City fans. And 3 years in, they were saying, greatest quarterback of all time. I said, if he maintains it for 15 years, let me know. And that's the problem, is that you won't see that anymore. I don't think it is sustainable. So
it's because you have to be a scrambler now. You have to have that athletic. Michael Vick fucked everything up. You got to be able to,
I thought it was Randall Cunningham. We go back a little farther.
No, actually, Randall Cunningham. No, you're right. Michael Vick took it to the next level.
The last true stand in the pocket. You didn't have to defend against a run. Dan Marino, but if you allowed him to, Dan Marino would pick you apart with his arm.
Right. Well, Peyton never. He was a terrible athlete.
No,
he couldn't scramble for shit. But he also knew where you were going to be at what time. That was what was so freakish about him. He would throw to a spot, not to a guy.
He was highly intelligent and studied game film unlike anyone ever had.
But he would also calculate measurements and timing, and he would work with these guys, and he'd work with them late. It was an impressive thing to watch. I wasn't an Indianapolis fan by any means, but I watched Indy every week because I want to watch what Peyton was going to do, because he was doing things nobody had ever done before.
Sure. And that team was just... It was magical. Edgerrin James, if he's in another system... Who knows? But again, right coach, right system, right place.
And Tony Dungy, would he have been that successful without Peyton? I doubt.
Hard to say. Hard to say.
You'll never know. But I remember watching Peyton because I'm not a huge college football fan. Never have been. It was like I said, I loved Elway. So I grew up on the NFL, and then by the time we moved to Arkansas, I'm 5 or 6 years old. I'm already in love with the NFL and Elway, and college just seems slower. But anyway,
I liked it because they still played for passion. Up until a few years ago, they still played for passion.
But I did always appreciate that about it for sure.
To finish off the NIL, what really cracked me up is now, and university's guilty. Every university, not just the University of Arkansas, but every university is guilty, because now it's the whitewash. It's the reason we're not competitive is because we need your donations. Wait a second. They didn't want our money. They wanted the money that you're already bringing in that you've been making off of their name, image, and likeness.
They're
they
trying
wanted
to
share
recoup
it.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just, unless we do this. So now, of course, prices have gone up and everything else.
And that's a lot of money they're losing.
It is.
When you put it that way. Yeah, I hadn't really thought too deeply into it.
It's not that they need to get more money. They just want
they need to break
of what is already coming in. So I laugh that there's so many things in our system that are the same way. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about college sports, whether you're talking about big business, whether you're talking about politics, whether you're talking about religion. Everything has that same... Watch the hand, watch the hand, watch the hand here, but this is what's actually going on.
Yeah. That undercurrent of false reality.
Man.
And the lines get blurred. I'm at the point where I believe everything and nothing at once. Like we're in fog of war times too. We're in fog of war. We're in media full collapse.
Mhm.
Like nobody knows who to trust anymore.
I think that's intentional. I
I
absolutely
agree.
believe that they are forcefully controlling and pushing out information and disinformation. That way they can raise the suspicion of the average person.
Right.
If I can say something completely gregariously wrong and then point at it and say, see, if I can get 4029 News to say that the Martians have just landed at Drake Field,
Mm-hmm.
and then turn around and point and say, see, that was a lie, that was a lie. You can't believe anything from 4029 News.
Right.
Well, I'm the one that got him to
I'm the
say
one that
that.
got him there. Yeah.
And now
you're intentionally feeding.
that's it. So now anything comes up that is true, like, oh, maybe APAC has been funding a lot of our political people in this country, and they do
I
the
think
classic.
that's what got Kennedy killed.
Oh my gosh, I
I
think it's very interesting, and I don't disagree. I think
I'm not
was a
concluding that, but
Mhm.
I the more I read, the more I'm leaning in that direction.
sure. I mean, I'm assuming you're a intelligent guy. You don't believe the magic bullet theory, do you?
Of Kirk or Kennedy?
Of Kennedy.
No. No.
Yeah, I mean, a bullet did not take like 3 90-degree turns.
No.
That's
no,
just not the way physics
I've,
works.
I've never believed that.
And that's what kills me, because now when the government says, well, this is what happened, well, you've been lying to us the whole time. And to a certain degree, I understand for public safety.
Sure.
I get it.
Yeah.
If they let people know how many people they were actually, if the FBI came forward and said, here's a list of everyone that we are keeping an eye on, that we just have suspicions about, whether it is a pissed off redneck from Oklahoma named Timothy McVeigh, or whether it is someone that we believe may be ISIS connected, if the average person realized how many people that the FBI was keeping tabs on at any given time, I think.
Or how many people were funding.
Yes, it would cause
that are in
breakdowns.
complete contrary to our aims and goals,
Mhm.
like terrorist organizations.
Oh my gosh!
I mean,
and it's
not that we need to go down that whole rabbit hole, because that's a whole fucking
man
mess.
It's just bad right now. It's bad.
But don't you feel like since COVID, we are in information overload, and every system structure that we believed in, we're seeing, like you said, the cracks, or
But it's-
the veils being lifted on everything. It's an apocalypse. I mean, apocalypse comes from the Greek apocalypsis, like a great unveiling of truth. It's not Armageddon like people think. An apocalypse is this great awakening, and I feel like we are going through one right now. On every level.
I think it's sad,
I
because
agree.
the answer is yes and no, and I will lean heavily into my pretty extensive travels. It's like that in America. It's not like that in other countries. They don't have this level of disinformation that is being forced out, because media is being controlled by a handful of people. First of all, they have a more grassroots information system, particularly in Europe. I love America.
You've been out of the country a couple times recently.
I have.
I was wanting to ask you about that. So where all did you go?
This last trip, I went to South America. I was in Colombia, and then I spent time in Central America, in Costa Rica, Panama.
Okay, so kind of equate what you're talking about now to being in those places.
Okay. It's not great example. I'll even go back a step. Jamaica. Jamaica is, best quote I've ever heard was I met a young man from Jamaica, and he said, Jamaica is my most favorite love and heartbreak, because it is my home country and it is paradise on earth. And he is absolutely correct on that. There are parts of Jamaica that are paradise on earth. And he said, but it's also a third world country, because what's not really nice is really bad. It makes Mississippi look like Beverly Hills. But here's what's interesting. In this very poor third world country that is not a great place for the majority of it, rather than the nicer areas, you know what they do have? Healthy fast food. If you go into a fast food place, you're not finding this ultra processed stuff that we are getting from McDonald's, Taco Bell, Burger King, everybody else. Just a plain fast food spot. They are dicing fresh chicken. They are grilling it up with very minimal.
So they're healthy as fuck.
It's that, and that's why they're so healthy.
Yeah.
And they have that in Europe. Europe
They're
has
getting farm to
much
table.
stricter standards in certain things, but it also cracks me up. I love bread. I shouldn't love bread, but I love bread. But I love good bread. My biggest complaint in this area, you go to a few small bakeries don't do this, but you go to any grocery store, they bake bread fresh in house. Then they immediately put it into a plastic bag and they seal that bag. And guess what? The steam from it makes the bread go mush. Whereas if you go to the East Coast of the United States, or you go to Europe or the Caribbean or South America, you go to a bakery and what do you find? Big baskets that just have loaves of bread thrown into it, exposed to the air. Now, on one hand, it's easy to look at that and say, oh,
I think the average American would be disgusted by that. It wouldn't bother me because I'm a heathen. But
it's funny because I think it's socioeconomic as well. Because did you ever eat at Atlanta Bread Company?
No.
Okay, Atlanta Bread Company, Panera, same way. You walk in there, what do you see? Baskets of bagels, baskets of baguettes.
Really?
So, but that is also not McDonald's.
Yeah.
So once you've hit a certain socioeconomic level, you go in and you go, oh, I know this is normal. Which funny thing is, it's peasant. At the end of the day, it's peasant food, going all the way back to ancient Rome, ancient Egypt, ancient whatever. That is how they sold stuff because it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be contained instantly. But they also don't have. They don't have the preservatives. They don't have the garbage.
No.
Food doesn't last the way it does.
Hormones.
Really interesting thing that I learned, and it finally clicked with me. What is considered luxury in a developing nation versus an established nation, they are completely opposite, and opposite in the other direction as well. Example of this. You go to a lot of countries and food insecurity is huge.
What do you mean by that? Like the ability to get?
The ability to get food.
Food at all?
I have a very good friend who also used to work for me from Haiti. And he summed it up. He said, when Haiti, if you are homeless, there's no food. No food. Meaning that there's no food in dumpsters. There's no food in garbage cans.
Right.
There's no charities. There's no churches to go get food
Whereas
from.
if you're willing here to get in a dumpster, you can eat like a king.
You can, and it may not be
as
the
far
food
as
you
caloric
want,
intake.
but yes,
Right.
You'll have caloric
You'll
intake.
survive.
You'll have sustenance. You will
Right.
survive.
You'll survive.
In Haiti, if you're in
Easily.
that shape, unless you are
You're
fortunate
toast.
enough, you're in bad shape, and
Yes.
that is more popular in your developing nations. So, food security. Now in America, we have great food security.
Yeah, you don't even think about it. I've
And
never ever thought about.
you're just
running
old
out of
enough
food.
to kind of remember pre-Walmart, the dawn of Walmart as we know it today.
Oh, I definitely remember pre-super centers.
You used to go to IGA or to Harps or to Dillon's, and every
Well,
once
they
in a
used
while,
to be separate stores. There was Walmart sold your more hardware kind of
Yes.
stuff and your hard lines, and then you had Food for Less was across in your parking lot.
Yes.
Food for Less.
do you
used to
remember
be.
going to Food for Less?
Yeah.
And there would be empty spots on the shelves because they just didn't have that. They were
Yeah.
sold out.
Yeah.
Now Walmart created, or I don't know if they created, but I give them credit for saying they perfected JIT, just in time. The moment you scan that bottle of olives at the checkout, they're ordering
It's
a brand new one to
transmitting.
replace
Nope,
it.
I work in supply chain.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful. It works that way. So in America, we have great food security, but what's considered the luxury? Farm to table. If you are fortunate enough, and you see it much more in the East and in the West, not so much here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
But that farm to table. New Jersey is a tiny state, but so much of it is farmland. Everybody has a garden. It cracks me up here because when I moved to Arkansas, everybody had a garden. How many people do you know have gardens now? We all know somebody, but I remember when it was everybody had a garden.
No, you're right.
And now,
Well, and the demands on people's time and what's important to you. I mean, it's changing. It's
Again,
evolved.
necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
You grew food because it was cheaper to grow food than it was to buy food.
Yeah.
Now it's cheaper to buy food than it is to grow it.
Not to mention the time it takes to grow it, so it's a doubly value.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, so in that first world country, you end up with food security. We have tons of canned food. It's just not good food.
Right.
Now, in the third world, they have no canned food, and if something wipes out the crop, they have no food.
Yeah.
I love to see what's going on, and I do think in certain ways Europe kind of leads the way for us. And I've traveled enough that I love America. I will freely shout from the rooftops what the wonderful aspects of America are. But I'm also honest with myself enough to be able to say, they do this better.
But
they
you have that
better.
outside perspective, which most of us don't have.
And
it's like saying it's like when you're a kid, you're always right. Your parents are idiots, right? Mm-hmm. Until you have kids, you can't see it until you're responsible for providing for another person.
Sure,
you can't just gain that experience unless you've seen it. You've been out of the country. You've seen these things. Mm-hmm. How beneficial would it be if our government did more of that?
That's what frustrates me. They are dealing with international all the time.
Yeah, but not in the right ways.
Have you ever seen Dr. Roy Castra? What's his name? Castronada. He's a professor at Austin, UT Austin. Mm-hmm. He does a YouTube channel. I highly recommend. I think you would enjoy it because he explains history in a very layman's term.
Roy Castaneda?
Yeah, I think it's Roy Castaneda.
Okay.
I think that's it. Dr. Roy. I remember that's what it is.
It's a timestamp, 41 minutes.
But he breaks things down, and I appreciate just how he's talked about Iran. And I agree. I'm consider myself to be fairly well read. I don't think in World War I, and he enunciated it better than I ever have. His stance is there were no good guys in World War I. And I agree with him completely in the fact that it was motivated. It was politically and resource motivated. Basically, England and France went and just took a map of the Middle East and said, we're going to take this, you're going to take this, we're going to take this, you're going to take this.
Do you feel like we have a good, accurate picture of the truth of World War I? Because history is always being rewritten, right? I wonder, like, do you feel like we do now?
One of the most influential things I've ever done for my personal life. And I don't remember exactly how it started, but I remember what caused me. I had a friend from Malaysia that came here to go to the University of Arkansas. And I don't remember what the particular thing was, but we ended up talking about a historical occurrence in Europe. And I kind of gave an explanation of it, and he said, that's not what I learned at all.
Right.
And it really got me curious. And I said, he said, this was taught in school. I said, can you get your hands on a history book from Malaysia in English so I can read it?
Yeah.
And I did that with several, with France, with England, with Italy.
Wow,
it's a really interesting when you're looking at the same same situation.
Set of events,
yes,
told from different perspectives. Were you? Did you ever watch Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the episode "A Matter of Perspective," where the dude gets murdered and Riker gets accused of it, and you get to see everybody testify, and it's a different story every time.
Yes.
Fascinating.
And
they're all true.
They are. They're all true from your own perspective.
From that perspective, because so many of the facts line up. The same events happen in all stories, but there were embellishments to some. Mm-hmm. But it's just like reading the news. The way I try and get my facts is I watch far left, I watch the political spectrum. Mm-hmm. What do they all have in common? That's what I'm going to believe.
Two sides to every story. The truth lies somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
Sometimes it does lean farther one side or the other.
Sure.
Do I think we have a good understanding of World War I? If you allow yourself outside sources, yes. If you limit yourself to any one perspective, no.
Yeah.
And I think that's
that's why it's
thing
hard
to
really talk geopolitics, especially with all the new. I mean, this whole Israel thing blowing up with World War II. I mean. It wouldn't touch over the 20-foot pole right now.
And it's a tough one because it becomes so polarizing.
It
but
is.
My contention is more deep than anything else. I have no issue with whatever someone's stance is.
Yeah.
All I ask is that you educate yourself well enough to know why you feel that way.
That's a really good way to put that.
And
that's a pretty simple ask, but most people don't live by that.
They don't, and they can't.
Because if I don't feel like I've done that, I don't want to speak to it. And
Yes.
I don't mind saying that. I don't want to speak to it because I haven't done my research yet.
Sure.
And I'm fine saying that. I'm not educated enough. Because
And
otherwise I'm going to
wrong with
just sound
that.
like an idiot.
And I wish more people could admit that.
Yeah.
And just say, you know what?
People don't want to
time-
say that.
Yeah.
People want to have the answer.
Yes.
They want to know, if I've only listened to to Tucker's perspective, then I'm like, I don't know. I know what Tucker said, but I don't know what, Jimmy Dore said or, fucking whoever it is. I want to listen to several different perspectives and kind of read through the lines, because everybody's going to try and put their spin on it.
Sure.
Their agenda, their hook, their audience,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Which has been so interesting with the MAGA movement is, and I don't even think MAGA understood this. I think MAGA thought it was bigger than it was, but what they didn't realize is Trump already had the MAGA base. He didn't need to go on these podcasts to get the MAGA vote. He was going after that generation of people who were done with the mainstream media. They're watching podcasters who are comedians, and that's where you're getting your truth from now.
And expecting to get logic from them.
And it was a pretty genius campaign move to go on those channels.
And I get it, but then you take somebody like a Rogan who now stands up and goes, maybe I was wrong. And I'm going, who anointed this guy the authority on anything? And that's what disturbs me is I think what podcasting in and of itself is brilliant. And that's why I enjoy this, because we can discuss things on a person-to-person basis.
Without a clock ticking.
Without a clock ticking.
Where you got 30 seconds to make your point.
Yes.
So I'm going to get the buzzwords in.
And not only that, I'm not trying to make you look bad. You're not trying to make me look
Absolutely
bad.
not.
Okay? I'll say this. I have no problem with a Republican president. I have no problem with a Democrat president. I have a big problem with a president that, has horrible policies. And I'm not saying the current president has horrible policies. What I will say about the current president is this. What disappoints me about the current president more than anything else is very simple. He does not act like a world leader. And that I am disappointed by, because we've had good presidents and we've had bad presidents in my lifetime. But one thing they've always held together is they have had a reverence for that office of what they should act. And the last thing I truly believe any of them wanted to do was make that office look either A, inconsequential, or B, not presidential.
Can I give a counterpoint?
Go for it.
It's kind of like the John Fetterman argument. People were upset that he was wearing a hoodie into the Senate building. I'm like, that's the most evil, criminal, masterminded building on the fucking planet. Presidents have been evil and corrupt, right? And Trump is like the devil you fucking know. He's out in the open. He's not faking it like these other guys. He is what he is. He's not a different guy
He's
in
on
private.
display. No.
That's what I liked about him. There's things I love about him. There's things I hate about Trump. I mean, I won't even get into the fucking Iranian war shit. It just fucking infuriates me. But I think it pushed through that. I think people revered the office of the presidency like some holy position, like the Pope. Like it was this respectable thing, and I don't have that big a problem with him.
Okay,
making a mockery of it.
Respected, yes. Revered, I disagree with. I don't think it was, oh my goodness, this is the Holy Father. Now, I'm not a religious guy, and I know I will alienate some people just by saying that. But because of that, there are no religious figures living that I feel are worthy of reverence. Or not even that are worthy of reverence, that are due reverence. That's
on
more
this
sense.
Planet is. We're all human failures.
That's it. I mean, do I believe that there was a man named Jesus Christ that walked around and did some amazingly great things? Absolutely believe that. So
do you base your values on that system?
No. Values.
I'm not on Christianity.
No, values and religion are completely exclusive
No,
of each other.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But would you not say the teachings of Jesus, if you take all the Thomas Jefferson Bible, where
Yes.
Thomas Jefferson excised all the mythological kind of
Mm-hmm.
divinity stuff,
Yes.
would you not agree those are a good set of values?
I think that. Well, are you taking the Old Testament?
No. I'm just talking purely Jesus' words, the red letters.
Okay, now let's the simple answer to what you're saying. Do I feel like it's a decent guideline? Yes. Now, let's be realistic about what it is also. What can you tell me personally about John Smith the Pilgrim from 1620?
Jack shit.
Okay, because the oldest Bibles were written 400 years after the death of Jesus.
Actually, Matthew was like 40 years later, because I just read the Case for Christ, so it was 40 years, and the argument there is that it was an oral tale.
Mm-hmm.
It was passed.
It was not.
But regardless,
written.
40 still. If you were to write something 40 years ago,
Did you ever play the secret game in school?
right? Yeah, I get it.
And again, did I think there was a guy that did some great stuff?
I'm talking about Jesus the man. I'm talking about just the printed teachings.
Yeah.
Do you find value in those?
I find value, and
you can excise everything else.
Did you ever look up Tallarico, the U.S. Senate candidate from Texas?
Yeah,
he's been the thorn in everyone's side right now, and I love the fact that he's getting misquoted. And I say this as a non-religious person, that is a deeply religious man. But you know what? He's the good Christian. He actually is living what the scripture says, not justifying what he wants to do by invoking scripture when he wants to appear justified.
Well,
like
I told you
Seth.
I told you I was aware of him, but I'm not educated enough to talk about it. I haven't
read it. It's funny because he definitely has created a buzz.
Well, I'm seeing the name everywhere. I just haven't dug into it.
Donald Trump himself wrote a whole post about him yesterday. If there's not a way, tell me you're scared without telling me you're scared. My favorite one that they have, he's just a common sense. To me, he is.
Is he a Democrat or Republican? I don't even know.
He is a Democrat. He is classic Southern Democrat.
Okay.
Very religious.
Mm-hmm.
Very religious. Democrat.
Yeah.
And he said, and it's funny because things have changed in our lifetime. All right. This whole area.
What year are you born?
77.
So we're both in that Xennial generation where we remember a time before the computers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
most of our lives we
how
lived.
Things have shifted, I don't really understand, but they have. When we were young, Bill Clinton, Democratic governor of Arkansas, very religious.
Was he?
He was fairly religious.
Genuinely?
Ann Richards of Texas.
But do you think Bill Clinton Southern was really religious, or do you think he said that to his base? Because his base
okay. Is he as religious as 85% of the population? That's one of the reasons I'm not religious. Because I'll go to any church with you. I know an extremely large amount of people because of my vocation in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah.
I'll go to any church you challenge me with, except for maybe a Mennonite temple around here. And I'll gladly point out the people, and, I'm not trying to put anyone on display. But I have a front row seat to hypocrisy on a daily basis.
Son, you know the quote, like the greatest cause of atheism in the world today is Christians who acknowledge exactly by their lips and deny them with their deeds.
Yes.
That's a fact. That's what pushed me away from it. I was like, you guys can't be serious. You're saying this and doing this? That's not...
That's what attracts me about Tallarico, is the guy is talking the talk and walking the walk. He is calling out. Just a little point about him, and I just say people should at least be aware of him. He is background in seminary, very religious, yet is strongly against posting the 10 Commandments in school.
Right.
Separation of church and state.
Yes.
Okay. And he explains exactly why. a very famous. I say very famous.
There has to be a separation of church and state. I also disagree with the Ten Commandments because if you're going to do one, you got to do them all.
Exactly,
and that's not the place.
And people are too short-sighted to understand that, and they say, "Oh well, we can
My
just
God's
do
better
this
than
one."
yours.
Yes.
I mean, if you took, look at the wars that are going on. Well, at least all the ones in the Middle East. It's whose God's dick is bigger.
80%
That's
of
all
wars
it is
through all of history.
All of history
is the 20% that
God.
weren't. It was about resources.
Right. Well, that's what
It's
it should
God
be.
and resources.
Right.
And the funny thing is, I think this is. I will say this in our current world situation, it's interesting because political stability has been kind of a hallmark for America front and center for most of my life.
Same.
When something has happened, it's been across the world. And we don't necessarily think about this, but something that's definitely happened during our lifetime, Czech Republic. Czech, Croatia. There were wars to figure out where our borders are. These are our
they were
ethnic
still figuring
groups.
it out.
And that was across the world, so it didn't really affect us. I went to Grenada last year. Now, the only thing I ever knew about Grenada was I knew it was an island, number one. Number two, it had stamps because they always had different stamps from Grenada.
I was like, where the fuck is Grenada?
It is in the extreme southeastern Caribbean.
Okay.
So it is
in this
all the way
hemisphere.
down. Go down to the U.S. Virgin Islands and just keep on going. You're down in the Martinique and what else is down there? Dominica.
How the fuck do you get there?
Barbados. I went by ship. I took a cruise and enjoyed the living daylights out of it. Now, Grenada's beautiful. It really is. It's a beautiful country. It is. Its infrastructure is very sound. Now, here's what I knew about Grenada before I went there. I remember something happened when I was a kid, and they sent the Marines in. Okay, that was all I knew. And before I went on the trip, I actually was like, okay, let me figure out what's going on here. Basically, they were having a government change, and the U.S. was playing world police. We didn't like who they were going to instill, so we swooped in and did what we do.
Gosh, we've never done that before.
Oh, no, not at all. But it's been constant. But that's kind of my point, is that we've pretty much had political stability. Now, what we did subversively. We sent the CIA in. They'd overthrow a government. We did that in pretty much all of the Central American countries.
What we did to Ukraine.
What we've done with Ukraine. And to me, if for no other reason, the fact the United States was in that room when we said, listen, you've got too much instability, turn over your nuclear weapons, and we will always defend you. It shows me that the U.S. government's word is worth nothing. Because the first time Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine 15 years ago, U.S. should have went, NATO should have been right there, but we didn't.
It's all bullshit, dude.
And that's all it is. And that's
It's
what's
all
sad
bullshit.
is we have to accept the fact.
Because there's nothing we can fucking do about it.
We could do so much. We choose not to. We absolutely choose not to.
You don't think you'd get fucking annihilated?
No.
Mass murdered eventually?
No.
If you rose up big enough to actually become a threat?
If NATO actually... And I did kind of chuckle because we go steaming in and we start bombing the daylights out because Israel tells us to. And that one is just... There's no way around the double talk. 6 months ago we were told we bombed Iran, we have annihilated their nuclear capabilities, and then 6 months later we've got to do it again. So were you incompetent or lying? Because there is no answer C. It's one or the other.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
They get real intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
There is information they have that we are not privy to.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible Iran was about to go on some massive offensive?
One of the best things I've heard. You saw The Princess Bride, right?
Oh, absolutely. I read the book. Have you read the book?
Yes.
Oh, the book's even better.
So let's just tie it all together with one simple thing. Our U.S. Senator Tom Cotton.
Mm-hmm.
Iran has been an imminent threat for 47 years.
Yeah.
You keep using that word. I do not think you mean it. It do not mean what you think it means. There's no such thing as an imminent threat for 47 years.
Yeah.
My problem is, we're not even the ones saying that.
Well, have you seen the supercuts of Netanyahu in front of the Senate with the cartoon bomb, and they're up to here? And this was in '92.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. It's been there. It's been known.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he finally found a megalomaniac enough that said, "Okay, we'll do it." I feel like Putin has also played into. And just the latest thing with Putin a couple of days ago blew me away when he said, "Oh yeah, we'll stop sharing intelligence with Iran." I mean, it's known we're still friendly, but they're giving their intelligence and intelligence that they acquired from us to Iran, and his reasoning was, well, just pull out of Ukraine, and we'll stop sharing. I'm sorry, again, tying back to what I said 5 minutes ago. We swore to protect this country from this exact situation, which we're not really doing. Now the Strait of Hormuz has been shut down, and it is, well, we need everybody to come in. And the rest of the world went, why did you go in and bomb them anyway?
Right. It's been very confusing.
And this is what I said ties it in because it's interesting. This is the first time in my lifetime that on a front row seat, America has been politically unstable, not just within America, but in our lifetimes, basically sovereign nations have not taken over other sovereign nations. We have had, and I brought the Czech Republic up for a reason, because it had internal strife that caused it to split apart.
Right.
But Germany hasn't invaded France. Nobody's invaded anyone else other than Iraq rolling into Kuwait. And we were Johnny on the spot there.
Right.
Literally sweeping in and seeing what happens. And for what? And I say that. I will always support our troops. I don't always support the direction that those troops are given.
Right.
And that's what's sad.
I appreciate you saying that, as do I.
It's a tough spot because now it's just because of what I do, Brad. This is the drunk guy, and he might be a big tough guy, but he's really drunk. And he got up and he walked up to a moderately sized guy that has been in a lot of fights, and he's pretty tough. And it's not to say that on a normal day, the big drunk guy would stomp the living shit out of him. But that's not what the situation is right now.
Right.
He's mouthed off. He's walked across the room and went to the other person who did nothing to instigate this. Right. But now the rest of the bar is looking. Does he turn around and walk back and sit down and make everyone chuckle?
Right.
I personally feel this is where Trump's personal ego will not allow that.
Well, one of the things I liked about Trump in the beginning was like, he can't be bought. I love that. You're not going to buy Trump. But the angle I fail to see is you give that guy a compliment, and that's worth more than money to him.
I remember when I heard you say that the first time.
His ego to
and I chuckled because I think, remember how earlier we were talking and you said I hadn't considered that angle? I think Trump was bought and paid for a long time ago.
Really?
I think he has been controlled by two sources, AIPAC and Russia. I think Russia, I mean, the southern border wall. There's only one company in the world that builds that wall, and guess what? It's not American. I crack up that you have a Russian company building a southern wall on the United States,
right,
which is made by Roman Abramovich, who it's, for those keeping score at home, he also is the guy that recommended a guy named Vladimir Putin to become the head guy in Russia. All right. This is an extremely wealthy oligarch. And it's I think the opposite. I think that okay, Sam Walton, rich. Elon Musk, rich. Name any other rich person. Give me a name of a rich person. I mean, really rich.
Bezos, Gates.
Okay. Have you seen any of them do a TV show?
No.
Because when you're rich, you don't have to do a TV show.
Right.
Did Donald Trump do TV shows?
Oh, yeah.
Was Donald Trump trying to make deals because he was making more? He is a magician in every sense of the word. Look at this, look at this, look at this. This is what I'm doing over here.
Right.
Okay? I think he has always projected himself as he wants the world to see him.
Right.
But the truth is extremely different. And I think someone has been pulling his strings for a long time. I go back to megalomaniac, and I absolutely believe he is a megalomaniac.
I don't think
and how do
anybody
you
doubts
control
that.
a megalomaniac?
With
If
their
I
ego.
came in and walked in, and the first thing out of my mouth was, you know, Brad, I'm so happy to be here because you have the best podcast. There's never been a podcast that's as good as the Brad Durham podcasting couch.
I would actually feel very uncomfortable and disgusted.
Exactly.
But to some people
some people eat that
Yeah.
up. And it might be the kind of person that stands up
people
and says,
did figure out
you
how
know,
to,
oh well, we're gonna make a cake tonight. It's probably gonna be the best cake that's ever been made in the history
and
of cakes.
I've pondered on this because I love psychology. I used to just read psychology textbooks just because it's so fascinating. Is some little trivial thing in your childhood can change the trajectory
Absolutely.
of your entire life. But I was thinking, like, what makes his ego so big? What makes him it's like, I think he wants to be loved. I don't think he felt loved as a child.
His parents were too busy. He was a child. I mean, he is literally the definition of a child born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Never
Yeah,
wanted
but that
for
doesn't mean he had a
anything.
great childhood.
No, it doesn't. And but I also get tired of the bullshit that we hear because it's a great soundbite. Money doesn't buy happiness. Really? Tell the person who's absolutely flat broke, cannot go to the doctor even though they are extremely sick. Their child is going through threadbare clothes, or they're not even. Tell a homeless person that money doesn't buy happiness, okay? If that's not the incarnation of first world problem psychology bullshit, I don't know what is. And what it can't buy is it can't make you fix yourself. You have to figure that out. And some people are capable, and they will do it, and they will live a happy life.
I get your point, but you still can't buy happiness. You can have everything in the world and not be happy.
You can, but that's
I see your perspective.
That's not a problem with buying happiness. That's a problem with you internally.
Yeah, but just because you take somebody out of the gutter doesn't necessarily going to make them happy either.
But this is what nobody wants to admit. Okay, you're rich, and you tell me that you're unhappy. My question to you is, Brad, why are you unhappy? Okay, now you're going to tell me for whatever it is. Well, I'm rich, but I don't have enough time to myself. Okay,
right.
So we're going to rearrange your schedule, and you're going to get 1 week every month completely to yourself, away with just you and the kids, if that's what you want, to be able to play music and play video games and hang out.
Yeah.
Well, that still doesn't make me happy. Okay, what's the issue?
Right.
The problem is people are moving the finish line and trying to blame society. No.
But you would agree there's a huge problem with victim culture.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it is a major fucking problem with our society.
Okay, victim culture is a huge problem in our society. And victimization, and there's no easy answer on this.
I'm not saying there is.
So we stand up and we say, yes, we are all tired of the person playing the victim, where you see, and you see it all the time. People have their cell phone camera out and somebody's walking by, and the guy literally just falls over and goes, "Oh, they attacked me," and video evidence shows that nobody attacked you. Right. Okay, so you have the bad victims like that, which are just assholes. At the end of the day, it's just assholes. But then you have the problem of, and I'm gonna go here just because I feel like it's worthy of going there. Ghislaine Maxwell gets transferred to a Club Med prison for no reason other than, I mean, there's literally zero reason that would not happen to any other common person. Now, you can also make the argument about
no other reason than what?
Then it was done to draw favor, plain and simple. Whether it was keep your mouth shut or whatnot.
I have a theory on that.
My problem is this: we're talking about whether or not. Okay.
Well, so, why do you think she got that deal though? She had to give something in return.
I think that A, she promised to keep her mouth shut, and B, you have to remember her family was also very politically strong.
Yes.
And I think that there was...
Well, her father was a Mossad.
Absolutely.
He was given a Mossad's burial.
So you want my 2 cents worth, and this is... I don't know, may lose you here. I think the stuff that is in the Epstein file is either being held, the most damning stuff. And we all know what we're talking about when we say the most damning stuff. The actual lists and videos and yada yada. I think it's being held by Mossad and it's being held by Russia. I feel that those are the two sources of it. And I feel like that's why the puppet keeps doing the tap dance. Because he can go out and say whatever he wants, but at the end of the day, he knows who's pulling the strings, so to speak. So when they say, oh yeah, by the way, you need to bomb...
Hold on. So you really believe Trump has some, like, nefarious shit with Epstein?
But it's...
You think
it's
that's what it... I just...
Okay, this is where I was going with that. So even... They're talking about whether or not Ghislaine Maxwell is believable, okay? First of all, you take... And this happens in everyday life. You take the guy that's in a supermax prison... And he says, oh, well, my cellmate told me that he did this. And I'll only tell you if I get some privilege, okay? So it happens all the time. Or it's the opposite, which is somebody comes to them and says, if you happen to see this, they might be able to work some privileges out for you. Yeah. That's what happened with Maxwell. It's pretty painfully obvious, okay? Here's my problem. They're talking about... So, okay, even if she came forward and testified, they subpoenaed the Clintons, and let's say they subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell and whether or not she's reliable. What disgusts me is going back to what we first started with. You know who they're deciding is not reliable? The victims. The ones that said, this is who I am, this is how old I was, this is who I was with, this is what happened. And we're going, oh, I don't know about that. And then we're moving the finish line. The most disgusting things I've heard. And allow me to completely encapsulate this, all right?
It's your show, dude.
The finish line has been moved. Those aren't children. They're 15 years old. There's a big difference between a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old. If that's your feeling... You are a disgusting individual. Okay? Now, upon saying that... So
you're saying it's pedophilia at 15?
Absolutely. So you have to have a hard line in the sand somewhere.
I agree.
And it's not that you sit there and say a 16-year-old is unattractive or a 15-year-old is unattractive.
I'm glad to hear you say it. Because some people are, like you said, are kind of like...
Now,
I think it's a pretty serious fucking shit.
It is. Yeah. So to say... I was laughing when it was... which one was it? Was it Tucker that stood up and he's like, day one, Kash Patel, the whole Epstein file is going to be out and it's going to be daylight and there's going to be carnage and, this is everything that's going to happen. And then he stands up and says, way more recently, do you really think that Donald Trump would do something with a 15-year-old? Okay, now, first of all, we're trying to diminish it. Instead of saying a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, right. We're trying to make it not sound as bad by taking the edge up and then trying to make people question themselves. Yes, that's what the whole point to this is. Donald Trump may be the most sue-happy guy in history of the United States, but he's not suing anybody over this. That's kind of questioning as is. But more importantly is that the fact that the victims that have eyewitness, firsthand accounts are being diminished, are being pushed out, are being ignored.
Of claims on Trump.
Of claims on Trump and claims on many others.
Sure.
You know? Um,
I've also read that they were crushing up human bone and drinking it as protein. I read they were cloning Epstein. I've read.
Now, let's tie it all back together.
Yeah.
Remember the very beginning when I said flooding everything with disinformation
Sure.
to make it sound.
Everything's just incredulous.
If you make it sound so ridiculous, then you're going, oh, well then, you know, him being with someone that was under.
But, okay, let's just say. Let's go with your argument that they're hiding everything. In the way they've released it, it's been very smart then, because there is no damning evidence on Trump with the files that have been released.
Of course not. It's been redacted.
There's still 3 million files they won't release,
and they've done
which
it
is against Thomas Massey's rule that he passed. They legally need to. And by the way,
everything.
Thomas Massey for president 2028. I'm saying it right now. I think
Massey
Fetterman. I'm all in.
If you made it Massey Tallarico, I'm not.
I don't know
kidding.
enough about Tallarico.
Read up on him. We'll talk about him next time.
I'm going to.
But
But I love Thomas Massey.
I think Massey is an excellent.
And he's the only guy Trump can't fucking beat, and it drives Trump
him nuts. And he won't.
He's
going
to win Kentucky.
Yep, he won't come to heel, and that.
But he's doing good work.
He is.
He's the only one who got any results out of the Epstein shit.
That's the Republican Party that I love. That is the part. That's what we used to have.
Only one.
Because he is still a Republican. He is not a MAGA cultist.
Right.
And that, you know, that'll get the boo hiss from a lot of people there.
But what I'm proud of the Trump voters is that, you know, everybody that said if you vote for Trump you're a cultist. I really always took offense to that, because I'm like, I'm a Trump supporter and I really dislike a lot of things about him. So that's definitely not true. But you've even seen, I mean, Alex Jones, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson. These are big voices in the conservative movement calling it out. I never saw the left do that in the Biden era. Nobody broke ranks. But I love seeing that at least the people are even saying, hey, maybe I was wrong. You know, you know, and really, we all got duped.
Okay.
You know, it's not.
Okay. And I'll qualify this too. I didn't like Joe Biden as a president, but you just said no one broke ranks. What did Joe Biden do that was so heinously wrong? Genuinely curious. I didn't like him as a president. I'm not a big fan of many of his policies. But my contention is there was nothing to break rank about. There was nothing so gregariously bad that it took someone looking at it as a Thomas Massey.
They were pushing a lot of DEI and transgender stuff with kids that I was not on board with.
And I'm not... Okay. I'm going to go back and beat on the Tallarico drum. Check it out on YouTube. Look up Tallarico Furry, okay? In the Texas House, he calls out the sponsor of the bill that I'm sure you read about it because it was all over the place. They were trying to pass the thing in Texas because in Texas, they were providing litter boxes in elementary schools, and we had to get rid of this, right? Tallarico is the one that called him out on the floor and said there has not been one single verified case.
Oh, I absolutely agree. There's a lot of fake bullshit that goes out there.
So because of that, and he said, and the sponsor of the bill said, well, we're trying to keep it from happening. And he said, so you're wasting time with a problem that you've made up.
Right.
When we could be doing something productive.
I'm talking about...
And I love that.
I'm talking about genital surgery on minors who don't even fucking... Would you let a 10-year-old make a decision about anything? I mean, even...
I love to tie this one in with religion, okay? We don't trust someone that's under 18 to vote. We don't trust someone under 21 to smoke a cigarette or drink.
I get the line moves based on the individual.
But at at 6 years old, you're gonna take a child into a church and have them have the mental capacity to determine their eternity, not just their life, because we all agree
No,
if
I
you
agree
are
with
religious,
you there. They're not old enough to do that.
why are we indoctrinating that? That's if I've ever seen grooming in my lifetime, that's it. Now it gets really bad when you start talking.
I don't
about,
disagree that's on the other side
Yep.
of the spectrum.
There's a lot of bad. Now that being said, do I feel that? And this is what sucks, because in this country we have shown that we have to protect children from parents.
Yes, and a lot of parents are the ones pushing this. It became a trend in Hollywood
Yes.
to have trans kids, and that is fucking abuse.
But here's the thing, and this is another thing. How much of the population is transgender?
It's less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
Yeah, it's like 0.015 or something.
But this is what we're choosing to focus on.
Yeah,
At its height, ISIS had how many known affiliations? How many people were in ISIS, that worldwide terrorist organization?
I have no clue.
Less than 800.
Yeah.
But we're on the news every night. You would think that this was a group that could imminently strike us at any moment, and they had sleeper cells all over the place. There was 800 people. You know, transgenders are less than 1% of the population. Now, I host all kinds of people at my venue, and this one I will be somewhat. I'm just be respectful about. If you'd have showed up at my place tomorrow and you said, I want to go by Bettina, and you're wearing a dress, I'm going to call you Bettina because that's what you asked me to. And it's no different than if you said, call me Brad, not Bradley.
Right.
Okay? It's
That's
respect.
not what we're talking. I have no problem with transgender. The point I'm talking about is letting kids or allowing kids to mutilate their genitals.
And that is.
I'm not talking about
completely
adult
agree. But
I have
again,
no problem with
this is
anybody.
one that the extremely isolated case has been made a nationwide issue. You would think there were thousands upon thousands of children that are having that, and that's not the case at all.
I understand.
There's literally
it's still
a
a small
handful.
population.
Now, do I agree that they should be protected from their parents? Absolutely. And that's where I have the problem.
Sure.
But to say that
I'm not saying it's a massive issue.
I would much rather deal with. Now listen, Brad, maybe you shouldn't let your son wear a dress, instead of having to say, now listen, Brad, it's okay if your 12-year-old son gets touched down there by a billionaire. Those really aren't equitable in my eyes. One of them is heinous. One of them is questionable, but the other is heinous.
Yeah, sure.
That's where I have the tit for tat. That fails with me, because if there was a level of protecting pedophilia, I'm all about destroying that and destroying all the perpetrators. We all know the writing is on the wall. It is all billionaire. I mean, not just billionaires. It is very wealthy people, because billionaires are a small percentage, but they do control a lot. Protecting this ultra wealthy from sex rings, from people getting passed around, that's what our focus needs to be.
And
the way to do that,
agree with you there.
The only thing that should be redacted in the Epstein files is what? Victims' names.
The victims' names are already out.
But that's the only thing that needs to get redacted. There is no reason to redact anything else. None.
So the deal was with these Epstein girls was, if you want to get out, you got to bring us somebody new.
For the most part, yeah, you're correct. And don't get me wrong, I don't look at them all as victims. I'll freely say that.
Well, that's what I was going to challenge you on to say. Yes, they are victims. However, they had a choice to continue that movement.
And I agree with that.
And I don't think that was right.
I watched the Epstein Filthy Rich for like the 4th time because I want to try to learn something or catch something that I missed.
Right.
Okay? The girl that said, and Ghislaine Maxwell took off her clothes and said, you need to do the same. And I was a little shocked, but I went ahead and did it. And then I gave Jeffrey Epstein a massage, and I left his house feeling so dirty and so violated.
And then I went back the next day.
I went back next day for the next 4 years. I went back and did it every single day. Okay? Now, Are you a victim? You are absolutely a victim.
They were, because they targeted
Yes.
girls who had no fathers, who were already on a bad trajectory.
And if we don't protect the people that are most vulnerable, our society fails. Our religions. And here's the thing, I've always hammered the drum that we were not founded on Christian morals. We were founded on the freedom to have Christian morality or your own personal morality. But all the moralities agree with certain tenets, you know? And that is one that we should be able to protect our children, and we should be able to protect our most vulnerable, especially if they are
Aren't there
our
some
children.
religions that allow pedophilia?
Oh, there's some religions that allow anything. I mean, 1849, plural marriage was outlawed in the United States. But if I told you, I have $1 million sitting right here, you have 48 hours and a plane, go find me some people that have multiple husbands and wives. Where are you going?
Right.
You're flying to Utah,
Utah
right?
is the
We
only
all
place
know
you
it's
would
there.
go.
We all know it's going on. We all know it's illegal, and we're all looking the other way. We all know the rich people, all of Jeffrey Epstein's neighbors, were looking and watching these girls go in and out. And here's the sad part, because for a long time I beat this drum. I said, yet they did nothing. And it turns out that's not the case. They were calling in. They were saying, hey, something's not right here.
And that's fucked up.
And the state of Florida started investigating, but they dropped the investigation. Do you know who the Attorney General of Florida was when they dropped the investigation?
Yes, I can't. What is the name?
Pam Bondi.
Yeah, it was Pam. But which year was that?
And who were her biggest campaign contributors while she was running for Attorney General of Florida, when she was going to clean everything up and get rid of those pedophiles?
I don't know.
Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump?
Yeah, I've not been impressed with Bondi at all.
This is where our system has failed, and it is our duty not to... I hate it when people are short-sighted, you know? Revolution. Stop. You don't enact change in that way. You need two things. You need grassroots and you need consistency. You need to not stop when you start to see progress and think that it's going to continue going the same way. Mm-hmm. We start with conversations between two people who then that just expands and expands and expands until we finally are able to enact change.
But you have to first be able to sit down with somebody that you might not agree with.
And that's the most beautiful
thing. And be cool.
Yeah. We can always be cool, and we can completely disagree on things.
And I think we have on some things.
The goal is to find the common ground.
But we've also shared some perspectives that we might not have seen before, and you know, I think that's helpful. Just to hear as many different voices as you can on a topic.
I agree.
But people are so quick to we worship these media figures. If it's Ben Shapiro or Tucker Carlson or whoever, it's whatever he says, that's what I believe.
Yep.
It's like that mentality to me is nuts.
One of the reasons I agreed to do your podcast the first time was I had listened to you on the show, and I had listened to your ability. One of the things that impressed me more than anything else was when you did the it was the pre-election show, and it was yourself and Nicole and
was that Audie? Was that Audie?
No, it was oh my god, Shauna.
Was she on the pre-election show?
I don't know if it was the single pre-election show, but the three of you were.
We were dressed up.
I don't remember. I really don't remember. But one of the frustrations I have, and I feel like you have it as well, and I felt like that's you and I instantly had common ground. I knew we were going to disagree on some things, but I knew there were certain things we were going to agree on. And one of the things is you challenged and said, "Well, what do you not like?" And Shauna bluntly said, "Well, I'm not really sure." Now, Nicole stepped up, and I'll admit, Nicole impressed me because she said, you know what? I don't have enough knowledge, and I'm embarrassed by that, and I need to educate myself. And I went, if we could get more people just with that mentality, that's how you enact change. Because then when you start to enact change, then the numbers get bigger and bigger, and people have to understand that we don't all have to agree on
No, we
every
don't.
single thing.
And we can change our views too. That's okay. That's not a betrayal of your values.
And you don't
if,
have to.
If you change your mind, I hate this so much in our country. It's like if you change your mind or your opinion on something, then you're a traitor.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my perspective changed because I've seen somebody else from
something has changed.
Yeah,
and it makes my feelings different.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean,
okay, great thing.
Charlie Kirk was, I think, one of the biggest fractal changes in our timeline.
Mm-hmm.
That fractured everything.
It was a case of.
I mean, you had people celebrating on the internet. You had people in mourning. You had Erica Kirk coming out with fucking firecrackers 2 days after he dies doing a MAGA rally.
The first thing I thought of when
my
I saw
God.
that, did you ever watch The Righteous Gemstones?
No, it's on my list, but
you'll-
unfortunately not. I'm looking forward to watching it though.
That was
It's on my
when I saw
short
Erica Kirk
list.
came out, I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm watching an episode. I was waiting
I'm
for
familiar
John
with
Goodman
the
to walk
show.
out because I was like, this is an episode of The Righteous Gemstones.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what's funny? At first, when that happened, this show's gonna just ruin my career. But when it first happened, I felt terrible for Erica. I didn't know who she was.
Mm-hmm.
She comes out of nowhere, and then fucking Candace Owens starts talking shit, and I'm like, what now?
Mm-hmm.
She was at a CIA base filming training videos, and said she'd never heard of Fort Huachuca. What is this? And then you start listening to Candace, and you're like, okay, and then people and you always know you're over target when the smear campaigns come. People who have never interacted with you before calling you an idiot and insane, and it works so well. I know people that are conservatives on the right. I hate Candace Owens. She's a liar and a bitch. And it's like, have you ever listened to her show? No, but whoever I watch, name your commentator, hates her.
Yep.
And so do I.
You literally just made the perfect illustration of exactly what is wrong. It is okay to agree with pundits on different sides and on different subjects. It is totally okay to be a liberal and love guns. And it's okay
I know a lot of them.
to be a conservative and be in favor of abortion.
There's a lot of gay conservatives.
There's a lot of people all over the place.
There's no
But
map. I mean,
what's gotten sad to me is in our lifetime, and this has drastically changed, it used to be there was a lot of crossing the aisle and working together and finding the common ground.
Because we valued our friendships.
Now it's tribal. It's extremely tribal.
And I think
you will
COVID...
stay completely within this party and you will not vote against this party no matter what your individual votes are, which one of the things I am impressed with is finally, don't get me wrong, the Democrats shoot themselves in the foot so much.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a witch hunt.
It's like being a Jets fan.
And it's hard when somebody has to step up because you just want to go like, I don't want to agree with this person, but in this situation, they're right. But the moment you say, okay, you're right, they run around going, Adam Morano said that I was right and I'm right all the time. And that's not what Adam Morano said at all. Right. I said about this one subject, you have it. And that's when I have respect for a Thomas Massey who steps up and says, you know what? This is a ridiculous cover up and we need transparency.
But also, don't you feel like, doing the line of work you do, you can kind of read people, right? I feel like I've got the ability to read people. Massey, to me, does not seem like a fake piece of shit. No. And most of them do.
I think a lot. And this is what's sad is that
even like Lauren Boebert, who's running around with him, she's a fucking skank. Like, she's so fake.
Tallarico has slapped her down a dozen times every time she opens her mouth, and I just smile because, again, don't get me wrong, I think if he laid out his platform, there would definitely be things that I disagree with. But I feel like it's a move in the right direction and being able to talk across aisles and show people that you can be religious and you can be a progressive and you can be democratic and you can be a Republican and you can have compassion and you can do something for the greater good rather than the capitalistic self good.
One of the good things about this time in era is there is more tolerance than ever, despite the media trying to tell us otherwise. I mean, when I was growing up, I got beat up on the playground for liking Star Wars and reading comic books, right? And Marvel's the #1 fucking movie franchise in the world. It became cool to be a nerd, right? Like, times change. Like
it's because the bullies are janitors of the world, because no one wanted to put up with their shit unless they came from a wealthy family. And guess what? Now they're the CEO because it was dad's company in the first place anyway.
Well, but those are the kind of people, Adam, that go to the top. The people who make it to the top. I have turned down promotions because it would have eaten my soul. And the more removed you are from the, let's say, the entry level people, the less human you become.
Yes.
The closer you are to the ground and your actual employees who are raising a family or who are needing that paycheck, when you're a director and you don't have any money problems and you're being answered to by senior management who doesn't have any money problems, these people down 2 levels, 3 levels below you don't mean shit.
No, they don't. And the same.
So imagine being a CEO.
Yeah. There's a level of disconnect.
What do you have to do to get to that level? You got to be a pretty fucking terrible person.
How many compromises have you made?
Yeah.
You know,
I'm surprised guys like Thomas Massey even exist.
Well, I think you're seeing, in a certain level, you are seeing. Here's
Unless
what's sad.
Kentucky's elections just aren't rigged.
Okay. I don't think elections, for the most part, have been rigged. Do I think there's been some impropriety? But I think that's been going on since the beginning. And I'm not justifying that. What I'm saying is, has there definitely been? Now, is there an easy answer? No. But there's some good ideas out there. What is interesting is people are starting to get mobilized. And they're finally, I think this is one area where I have a lot of hope for the younger generation, because instead of, well, we vote for Huckabee because my parents voted for Huckabee and their parents voted for Huckabee, it is, I'm going to learn about the candidates.
But you don't know what you're voting for. It's just the name.
Here's the problem. And I sincerely believe this. This is the biggest problem with politics in the United States. It doesn't matter who you vote for, because 2 years in office, that's not the same person.
No.
And it doesn't matter if you're talking about a Thomas Massey or a Strom Thurmond or an AOC it doesn't matter, because you come in as an average person and now all of a sudden all of this money gets thrown at you and you realize, let's say the average person is around 30 years old when you make it into Congress.
Yep.
And you realize you've got, give or take, 30 years left. So you can compromise your morality to make sure that you and the people you care about are taken care of for the rest of your life, or you can continue to try to make change.
Right.
I hate to admit it, but I think way more people go for the former. And
on a human level, you have to understand it.
And that's why I say that is our inherent problem.
I mean, I couldn't say I wouldn't do it if I got the right deal. You know, vote for this package, and here's
so let's tie and go all the way back to the very beginning, all right? So 20 years from now, we have the ability to allow AI to make the decisions based on the 3 tenets that you brought up.
Yeah.
Do we allow them to control Congress?
Oh, my God. Heaven help us, man.
But it takes the human error out of it. It takes the human emotion out of it.
Yeah, but who's programming the fucking AI? It would have
and that would always be the question.
You would have to self-correct it. Like, you'd have to have multiple AIs from different perspectives unify into some coalescing God form.
All right.
Sounds like a good novel.
V'ger. We're going to allow V'ger to have all the answers because it's
Star Trek
traveled.
1, dude.
It's traveled the universe.
Dude,
It is.
that was the greatest reveal as a kid.
Oh, it was. It was
When
just
I
like
saw
a
that,
jaw dropper.
yeah,
You know,
that was my first big like. No, no, I think I can't remember if I saw that. What did that come out before or after Empire Strikes Back? That was
Came out
after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd seen Empire. Empire was my first big.
Oh,
I
yeah,
Am Your
yeah,
Father.
that
Was the first like fuck.
And
me.
then you realize 10 years later they were writing it on the fly because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
going, wait a second here. That doesn't make sense with this.
George
This doesn't-"
Lucas is like the Ringo Starr of directors.
Mhm.
So you like both overrated and underrated.
Mhm.
Like he did really create one of the greatest universes
Sure.
of all time. But he was and this is a thing I think directors nowadays lack is creativity. Back then they had a budget.
Mhm.
And so how do we do this the cheapest way possible?
Sure.
Right? And they were creative about the way they made things, but they wanted to make it look real.
Mhm.
And they invented so many great special effects, which of course now CG has taken over. And I think the last, or maybe the first and the last great use of CGI in a movie was Lord of the Rings. It was sparsely used for large battle scenes and the character of Gollum, but like everything there was either a miniature or a set
yeah.
or suits. It was still live action on the set. They made the swords.
But the people that hate CG, I have a 2-word response for you: Jurassic Park.
The original Jurassic
Every
Park was
kid-
largely.
Every kid loves dinosaurs.
Oh yes.
You know, and it's crazy because we're old enough that I remember when the university they would have the dinosaurs are coming and they would bring the animatronics and they were supposed to be somewhat lifelike.
Mhm.
But now here we are
Yeah.
30 years later and the CGI
Yeah.
and the AI has made them, now you're looking at it because they've compared them more to, oh, this is what an alligator's like, this is what we would expect a giant reptile, instead of it.
Well, don't confuse my argument. I wasn't knocking CG. What I was knocking was that nowadays you can do anything.
Oh yeah.
Back then
Absolutely.
you had to be creative about it,
Yes.
and I think it kept your mind sharp.
Yeah.
Now it's like,
It was
just
necessity.
do this because it'll be amazing. But
Yes.
back then you had a budget, so the scene had to be smaller. You had to write it well.
Mhm.
And I think scenes were more tender. There was more smaller moments. There was more, I don't know, just depth to character. Because you had to fill, you didn't have the budget to do 90 minutes of action.
Our phones have been the downfall of us because the
Oh,
attention
in
span,
many ways.
the attention span has gone to nothing. So it has to be something right in front of us all the time, going.
Or
It's
validation,
hard.
validation,
Yes.
dopamine.
Yes, it
And
is.
unfortunately, we have kids being raised this way. Where I know kids who whole weekends, their parents are like, it's a weekend, you can just have
Have as much as you
have
want.
tablet all day, and they're watching these TikTok videos that are 30 seconds, funny thing,
Yep.
and it's like rotting the brain out. Like at least with video games,
Mhm.
I feel like the boomer talking about. Here's my excuse. Video games taught us motor skills,
Mhm.
puzzle solving, like fucking figuring out Zelda dungeons.
But you were never babysat by the boob tube, right? I mean, it wasn't Saturday, and your parents had that rare day when they just wanted to spend the day in the bedroom, so they allowed you to watch TV all day long.
No, I was allowed to watch Saturday, but my parents were
We
very
watched Saturday
strict.
cartoons, and then we got up and had
And
a
then-
bunch of chores.
And then you had a bunch of shit to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were allowed to eat cereal, and like we'd have a special cereal that we'd only eat on Saturdays.
Mhm.
And we could watch Saturday morning cartoons for, I don't remember, maybe 7 to 9. And then, yeah, it was chores.
Yeah, I think it's just generational, and it's the current generation. It is, like you said, the TikTok videos, our phones, our tablets. Okay, the generation before that was video games, and this, I mean, it's kind of, now you have games on your phones and tablets, but you had video games. Before that, it was the television. Before that, it was the radio. You know, 100 years ago, there were two guys sitting there that had just put in 14 hours in the field, and the two brothers that were living together because one of their wives died, and their kid was leaned over listening to the radio, and this really crackly sparse, and he was trying to hear the War of the Worlds, and he's going, you know, the one old guy was looking at the other going, this radio's rotting their brains. These
Yeah.
kids don't know the value of hard work. They were trying to listen to the radio instead of plowing the lower 40. the sad part is, I think we
Yeah.
talked about it last time. The pendulum has
Yeah.
finally swung too far the other way. Life has gotten too easy.
Yeah.
And who's to blame? We're to blame.
We're to blame for everything.
Yes.
It's that whole moniker of what strong men create good times create weak men create hard times create strong men. Yeah, that's we are in an era of weak men, unfortunately.
We are, and we're gonna find that
and
out.
We're to blame.
Quick.
And it's not saying no to kids. Nobody wants to be abusive.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to, and that's part of this victim culture too. Kids were allowed to fucking rule the roost for so long, and I raise my kids like it's the 80s out here. They have a lot more freedom than most kids.
Mm-hmm.
They also have a lot more consequences.
Yes.
And responsibility.
Yes.
It's like you got eggs to pick up, you got chickens to feed, you got dogs to feed, you got all these chores, you got to mow, you got to weed eat, you got to do all this shit.
Those are the kids that are going to grow up with some self-discipline and understand that while they may not love it in the moment, they understand that it creates the good habits that makes them happy as an adult. Whereas the kid that is just allowed to do whatever, those are the people that you and I have seen on a daily basis that get a job and they last 6 months. Because it's like, what? There's actual standards and there's effort. And I was just talking with one of my regulars today, Mark, and we agreed that we just figured it out. When we were young, there were days that no matter what it was, the whole conversation I think started with, well, how did you make it to work when before 4-wheel drive was really standard and you worked in Bentonville? Mm-hmm. You figured it out. You drove slow. You left 2 hours early. You drove your rear-wheel drive vehicle with, summer tires, and you made it carefully. Now, admittedly, was there more accidents? Of course there were. But it wasn't just oh my gosh, we just can't do anything right now. We're going to sit here and hibernate.
Yeah.
We didn't have that option. And now it's gotten to the point where there is that level of option, which is nice. It's nice to be able to say, I chuckled because I said 2020 ruined snow days for kids because there's no such thing as a snow day now.
Right.
Now it's just distance learning.
Yep.
Everybody pull out your tablet because we've gone through this motion.
Mm-hmm. They fuck kids hard.
But then you end up with the 20 somethings that we have right now going, what do you mean I can't work from home? Yeah. I should be able to have a fully remote job.
Yeah. Well, it was a right for 5 years to a lot of people. A lot of people got pissed off when they got called back into office. I get it. It's the problem with remote working is that you have got to have a really dedicated employee to stay focused and actually work because there's a million distractions. You're not on camera.
That's exactly the way and this one breaks my heart to admit, but I know too many people who are homeschooling their children. And
as somebody who homeschools and is very deep into that world, you're absolutely right. There are people who have no business homeschooling their kids.
There are some that are wonderful, and there's others that have
my wife is
no
fantastic.
Business.
They are engaged all day long, but it's more like field trips and on-hand learning. They've got homeschool groups. They got co-ops. They're in shop class. I mean, they're literally robotics. I mean, it's so immersive. It's so much more rich than going to public school and sitting in a classroom all day, right? But she makes it engaging like that. But there are people who homeschool their kids who it's just an excuse for their kids not to go to school.
I crack
and they don't do shit.
Public school's gone to pot because we've cut the budget over and over and over and over again. Another thing that has been said that and it's been said many, many times over. We don't have enough money for public schools. They're underfunded and teachers don't get paid enough and yada. And we all know this, right?
Right.
But we always have the money to find more
the
bullets.
Best coaches.
Well, more bullets, more bombs, more whoever. We can go bomb anybody we need to across the world, but we can't take care of our children. And I truly believe it's because they don't want an educated and informed populace because it's so much easier to control people that are ignorant. And you even just nailed it when you said there was so much more engagement. Okay, there's this class and this class. Okay, when I was in high school, we had shop class and we had a robotics class and then a public school.
Yeah,
and we had
we regress.
Yes, technology education, and before that, it was when my dad was in high school, they had auto shop. You know, they went and
yeah.
they pulled the engine out.
That's right.
The first week, and everybody knew by the end of it, and they learned how to weld.
They learned life skills.
Yes,
we didn't teach that in school, and so you had to learn it from a parent or a grandparent. So if you didn't have one of those, and even if you did, like me, I didn't want to learn that shit. Nope. You know how to do it, Dad. So there's no reason for me to. And now I'm 44, not knowing how to do shit and having to call my dad every time something breaks down.
And going, and now, but I think it probably lights an extra fire under your ass to make sure that your boys.
I know.
You know,
I
it's
know.
like, hey,
we're learning it together now.
I love. One of the things I love about social media is watching American culture make buffoons of themselves. You know. How many times have you seen...
We put it on display.
You see this post on social media that says something like, I wish they taught us life skills like balancing a checkbook, making a budget. They used to. The class was called Home Economics, and we did away with it. Yeah. And you learn not only those skills, but you also learn basic etiquette at the table. You learn how to set a table. You learn, I'm laughing because in so many ways, our culture has definitely gotten better. But in so many ways, I challenge anyone to go look at a picture of a family from 1940 when everybody is dressed to the nines. And it may have been the only nice clothes they had, but every picture that they put forward, they had that presentation. Yeah. And now...
But photography was hard to come by back then, though. So you wanted to look nice.
But now, I was just kidding with my
like
newest bartender. I said, at some point... I told her, I said, I have no mercy on your generation because at some point there's going to be a kid that's going to go, Grandma, is that you? And there you are. You're going to be there, your ass hanging out, tits hanging out, and you've got to explain it. The internet is forever, gang. There is no such thing as deleting something from the internet. Once it's out, it's out. And I'm really glad that my grandmother, and it's easy to go, okay, boomer, and you're the conservative. Again, if you listened to me earlier, you might thought that I'm liberal. Now you're going to listen to me and go, "Oh my God, that guy's way conservative." I'm very old school.
I appreciate people who dabble on both sides because I do as well.
And I believe the best way to do it is to cherry pick. And
I am not picking a fucking tribe.
No,
I am not picking a tribe.
No, and that's why it really kills me when you say, "Well, the most damning words I hear about knowledge is when someone says, I vote straight down this ticket every time." I'm like, listen, on both sides, you have plenty of scumbags to know who.
I'd rather not vote at all than vote for the wrong candidate.
I think you should have, before you're allowed to vote, okay? And this is just common sense to me. You get a driver's license. What do you have to do before you're allowed to drive a car? You have to pass a test to show that you know basic operational skills and knowledge of the rules of the road.
That's before you get in the vehicle.
Yes.
Right.
So, what if you went in and voting was a two-stage thing? Number one, and one area where I am highly in favor of technology, and it's because I use it on a regular basis when I travel, which is scan and go. You walk up and it's facial recognition, and they go, boop, that's Adam Morano. And now instead of me having to pull out a passport that's got a 7-year-old photo and now I've either gained 70 pounds or lost 60 pounds or everything else, they can just go, boop, that's you. We're taking all these measurements and going, that's right. Okay, so first of all, we get facial recognition, forget everything else. And this is where, again, how much of your liberty are you willing to give up? I have no problem with the government taking a scan of my phone, because if you think that you're not giving one up every time you pull your phone out, you're lying to yourself, okay?
Absolutely.
So you have, the first thing you do, you get there and bam, facial scanner. Now they have verified your identity, and if for some reason they're unable to, secondary measure of it, then you do it one-on-one. After that, first stop after that is, here's the candidates. You tell us who is Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Independent, yada, yada, yada.
Now you're making it a test. No, nobody's going to vote.
It should be a test.
Yeah, but nobody would vote.
And you know what? The people that aren't willing
that's probably a good thing.
Exactly. The people that aren't willing to learn the skills to drive should not be allowed on the road.
Research, then you probably shouldn't vote. I'm in favor of that. I like that idea a lot.
The popular one is always, if you don't vote, don't bitch. No. if you vote, have knowledge of what you're voting for.
Yeah.
Know what this is
Yeah,
actually.
but even if you vote for something, it turns out to be a lie anyway.
And that's
every fucking, and you can't tell me that the 2024 Trumpers are the first people to get fucking duped by a politician.
Oh my gosh.
That's every fucking president in my lifetime.
It has been
I think scam.
Why Trump has been such a focal point is the gregariousness of it. And one thing I give him credit for, because he exposed something that has always been there. The most important thing that he exposed to me is this: the powers of the president are not written in any place. And that's a scary thought when you ultimately think about it, because when you have diplomatic immunity, you have sovereign immunity, and you have unchecked power, and we like to say checks and balances. Problem is, we have a failing in the way our system works.
Well, ruling by executive order is fucking awful. And he has now set, every president since George W. has set the record, and Trump's blown it out of the water, as he does. But that was an emergency power, I thought, because of 9/11. Again, and no president has rescinded it yet. They've continued to renew this power, the way I understand it.
It's been there. It's not even that they renewed it. There's nothing to renew, because there's nothing that says they don't have the power.
So they just invoke it, and now it's
pushing it farther.
I
and
just
farther
leveled
and farther.
myself up.
And okay, this is where I'm gonna tease the Democrats a little bit. All right, I'm sure you've heard it right now. Whether you feel duped or anything else, you're hearing the people with the pitchfork saying, impeach Trump, impeach Trump. Okay, I say this: if you are of that group that loathes Trump, the last thing you want right now is for Trump to be impeached. And it's common sense. And most people just can't even get this far with it. The Republicans control both the House and the Senate. There is no way that they are going to allow a nonpartisan vote. So even if they brought articles of impeachment, he beats it. And now he's just been made a martyr. Okay? If you want to impeach Trump, and I'm not saying whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, you wait until after midterms if one of those two houses flip, then you do it.
Yeah.
And I think the way it's going now, I think you are going to see a flip. Whether I agree with it or not, there's a lot of progressive policies I don't like.
Well, Trump. Well, we talked about this earlier. You had the MAGA movement, which is only
it's a subculture of the Republican side,
right? But it is not representative of the Republican Party. So what they were going after when Trump was going on this podcast tour was the libertarian, Democrat, that sphere in the middle, the biggest sphere of all.
Yes.
The untapped resource.
Yes.
Because you're guaranteed the outside edges, right? So they were going after this massive, and it was a brilliant campaign strategy. I mean, he hit Patrick Bet-David, Theo Vaughn. I mean, Rogan, who also offered Kamala the same deal. Who else did he go on? I think Jake Paul. I mean, he's hitting these big targets, and he did Rogan for 3 hours unscripted. When people are seeing this, he's driving up in a fucking dump truck, with Trump on the side of it. I mean, he's having his grandkids out. It was a masterful campaign after an assassination attempt. Like, it was wild to watch. There was energy behind it I'd never seen in a political campaign.
Sure.
I think that assassination attempt brought him a lot of sympathy.
I think that was staged. I that's my thought on it. When you see the video afterward and you see the Secret Service pulling cameramen to, no.
Now, I've seen that video, and I'm not going to say you're wrong. I wasn't there, and the FBI is not helpful.
Lowering the flag and bringing camera people around.
It looked like a photo. I've seen it, Adam.
If it quacks like a duck, it walks like a duck, I think it's duck.
I'm not going to deny.
But I agree with your point in the fact that it got a huge level of sympathy.
Right.
And it
right before the
energized.
RNC, when he showed up with a bandage on his ear, had his grandkids on his knee.
Yep.
He's hugging the American flag.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a fucking master
Hollywood
stroke.
made this thing. They would have been proud.
Oh, that's why I'm saying entertainment sucks so bad. A lot of people are going to politics, which is sad, but also good because more eyes are on it.
Well, I think the eyes have always wanted to be on it, but the curtain was, we couldn't see through the curtain. And now, where it used to be,
I think Trump blew a lot out of the water. I think you got to give him some credit for
that's where
exposing a lot of the media bullshit.
It exposed media, but it also exposed the fallacy of our political system and the unabrided checks and balances. One thing I give the Republicans all the credit in the world for: every time the Democrats change the rules to help themselves, they shoot themselves in the foot, and the Republicans take advantage of it. Okay, and that makes me laugh because
it is embarrassing.
It's just going. You're getting beat at your own game.
Yeah.
Stop trying to change the rules, and then don't complain about. Stop focusing on the lunatic fringe. And to be fair, that's where I think the oversimplification, meaning all the mass media has been taken over by a few very, very large, powerful, but very few. Okay, mm-hmm. To where you think you have 47 news outlets, but the truth is you have 3.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really
it's
easy.
Like how all these mega brands own numbers of buy up the smaller brands, but it's a conglomerate at the top.
But if all I said was, if I didn't talk about Brad Durham, the musician, if I didn't talk about Brad Durham, the podcaster, if I didn't talk about Brad Durham, if I chose one thing and said, well, this is what Brad Durham's all about. Brad Durham wears hats. Brad Durham wears a hat inside every time I see him. Can you believe that? That's not acceptable. And that's where I do feel that we are having a certain level of, you have one side that's controlling 90% of the media saying, this is all they're talking about.
Right.
No. This is what you say they are talking about.
But they're also, major medias are typically controlled by their advertisers. So you have the advertising money that's telling you one way or another, that's influencing.
What I've learned is there's enough advertising money out there that, what I always say as a business owner, one thing that historically, I've actually ventured farther than I ever would. That's not to say that I'm not opinionated about things, but I'm very honest and realistic with myself. If people that are watching this have made it this far, this is a critically important thing. No matter what your stance is as a business owner, you are going to alienate half of all prospective customers, of all prospective clients.
But if you follow that progressively, you continue to annihilate everyone.
But no, because
and you won't.
There's enough of the pie out there, and yes, you won't get 100% of the pie.
Right.
But if I jumped out and said, incredibly unpopular opinion about whatever, and people misjudge
said many
this area,
tonight, I'm sure.
I have, and I'm sure that I'll hear some repercussions from it. To be realistic, it did kind of crack me up. It's been interesting, but you have to accept the fact that you have to be somewhat docile on your opinions, because when we were kids, if you wanted a chicken sandwich, you went to get a chicken sandwich at the place that you thought had the best tasting chicken sandwich. Now you go get a chicken sandwich at a place that aligns with your political socio beliefs. You laugh, but tell me I'm wrong on that. In this area, I have plenty of people.
Some people do.
Some do. Some people just want to go get a chicken sandwich. But we're lying to ourselves if we think that it's not a motivation.
Fuck Carhartt since they fired employees for not getting the vaccine. So.
How about that? Exactly.
I'm guilty of it.
And so that's one company of one thing. There's a lot of people that have turned their back on Disney. There's a lot of people that have turned their back on whatever.
Disney ruined Star Wars, so I am in alignment with that. I don't care about any of the other agendas.
One of the most interesting things to me is I always found myself in a very strange place being non-religious, yet defending vigorously the rights of Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby to set their own policies regarding their own personal
Well, it's
beliefs.
a private company.
It's a
not
private
a government
enterprise.
entity.
Exactly.
It's a private enterprise.
And I may completely disagree with some of their stances.
Absolutely.
But I will vigorously defend your right to have those stances, because the moment we lose that, we've lost.
You know what's sad is you feel like a libertarian, but the Libertarian Party sucks ass. It's a fucking wreck, dude.
Yes, and the problem is, it's almost like it's the fad thing, kind of like what you said earlier. Like, it's a fad that if you're a Hollywood celebrity and you're a kid and you're disenfranchised, you're going to become transsexual. Yeah. I think that the libertarian is kind of like that fad thing. Like, oh, I don't really fit here, I don't really fit there. The best thing that could happen, and I truly believe the best thing that could happen in American politics, would be the obliteration of the two-party system. And you go to a place, again, a little bit of perspective from traveling changes everything. There are 8 major parties in Australia.
Yeah.
Australia consistently has one of the highest standards of living and highest levels of happiness in the world. And it's because it's not two teams.
I know a lot of European countries are that way.
Yes.
Germany,
yes,
UK.
Yes.
I mean, they have like
instead of passing the ball back and forth between two people.
Yeah. 2 extremes.
Yes.
Because the extremes are the ones that win out, right? So it's this tug of war.
But in America, it's all about money.
It's all about whiplash for the fucking people who are living.
And that's what's sad.
Living
is
conditions.
Instead of being able to say, and at times I do kind of crack up, because one of the big campaign promises of Donald Trump, and I agree, 80% of campaign promises just fall by the wayside. Day one, that Obamacare voodoo stuff was gone. Well, it's still alive and well. Now, have they torpedoed it? Sure. They've said the cost's astronomical, and that's what they're going to try to point to. If it continues that way and there's not a reckoning, which I believe there will be, but if there's not a reckoning, the next step would be, let's say in 28, the Republican points at it and says, this is obscene. This is why we hated it, because it's so ridiculously expensive. It's expensive because you made it expensive. You took away the subsidy. Most people don't realize, if we took 1% of our annual defense spending, we could have universal health care for the entire country.
That's unbelievable.
1%.
So let me ask you this. As somebody who I feel is a patriot, and very educated, why haven't you run for office?
I'll never say never. People don't want...
I would love it for somebody like you to represent.
Brad, I'm telling you that I have never really thought about... I've had plenty of people approach me and say, if you considered this. Somebody like James Tallarico makes me reconsider, always kind of brushing it aside and laughing.
Really?
I think we all have, whether it be, something that... Like what I like to say about myself, a lot of people know me. 98% of people will, I feel, would, if you ask them about Adam Morano, they would tell you very positive things. 2% though, oh, they hate me. They hate me. And they're going to be very, very, very vocal about that, because the moment they saw on TV, oh, Adam Morano's running for this office.
Yeah.
And I think that's universal across the political spectrum.
It's a terrifying prospect. Even considering it, it's like, I don't want to put my family through that.
I think that James Tallarico, if he pulls off the conversion of Texas and takes the U.S. Senate seat as a Democrat, and it's funny because I even say that and it sounds like that's so far-fetched. It wasn't that long ago that Texas was completely democratically controlled. They had Democratic governor, they had Democratic House, they had Democratic Senate. And that's not to say that it was right, because it had its issues too. Well, Ann Richards, so you're talking early 2000. Well, no, it was later than that. So 2000, was that 2008?
It didn't last very long, though, did it?
No, it had been that way. You got to remember, it was Southern Democrats. I mean, it was in this way for a long time. But somehow, that's what I'm saying, is we've lost our political sophistication. We have short memories. We forget that. If you looked at Arkansas, and we say Arkansas is a hard red state. Well, Mike Beebe was not a hard right red governor.
No.
Bill Clinton was not a hard right red governor.
Clinton was a Democrat, though.
Yes, and so was Mike Beebe. And that's what I'm saying, is that
Oh yeah,
we act like it's been eons, but it really hasn't been eons.
Right.
If Tallarico can flip this, and he's running on grassroots, and the other thing I love about him is he has not taken any PAC money.
Are you serious?
Look it up. Look it up. He is doing it completely grassroots, and
So you're saying he's inspired you to run?
he's inspired me to think that it's possible that people.
Think about considering the possibility of thinking about.
I had resigned myself, and one of the reasons I've traveled so much, I won't deny, I was looking at the place. I'm not one of these people that's going, oh, America's so terrible, I got to get out of here. No. I'm 48 years old. My goal is in about 17 years, I want to retire. 65, I'd like to retire. And I want it to be somewhere tropical. I don't want to own long pants. I want to be in linen pants and shorts and a t-shirt and be happy and live happily ever after.
That's wild.
But at the same time, I'd resigned myself to the fact that politicians were bought and sold a long time ago. And as I said earlier,
before they even get elected,
they're
already.
I think that's it.
It is. I think you're right.
I'll even say I'll allow him to remain nameless, but I know someone that is running for a local office here that I know personally, and straight up he was approached. He had never given any thought whatsoever to running for office. He looks the part of the office.
Wow.
And I think he will probably win.
Wow.
But it was people coming to him saying, hey, you need to run for this. And I think that happens more often than people expect.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I truly believe that Donald Trump was a case of white lash in the fact that this country had been getting a little too far, and then white men kind of stood up and went, we're still the majority in this country.
Right.
Whether it was right, wrong, or different. This is what pisses me off, because when they do decide to get motivated, this is what happens. Okay? It was...
Hey, Trump just turned politics into the WWE, man.
Oh, my God. I feel
it's entertaining until we get killed by it.
We're living in idiocracy. I feel like we are living in idiocracy right now, and it's golden and terrible.
It's been that way since 2019. It's like the best.
But I think you're shortchanging it.
Very well, maybe.
Well,
that's when I became awake out.
And this was before, I was too young to know, but there was some 60-year-old person sitting, little old man, little old lady, sitting watching the news in 1980 going, well, Ronald Reagan just became president. And his wife went, the actor?
Yeah.
The one that plays with monkeys?
Yeah,
far-fetched.
Sure, but you would have to agree it's escalating.
I agree. Now, here's what's interesting to me. Let me ask you. Right. In our lifetime, do you see any major Hollywood celebrity getting into the political realm?
Current? Mm-hmm. Like living?
Yes.
Well, that also leads to another question, is like the death of the Hollywood actor.
Oh, I agree.
We don't have a Tom Cruise anymore. No. Or, our generations have Marvel characters. Mm-hmm. It's Iron Man, and whereas we grew up with Harrison Ford, and, name your hero here. Man, fucking Chris Pratt is the only body that comes to mind, just because he's so goddamn lovable, and I could see him on a Republican ticket. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Do you think? Can he?
I think there's one, and it would not surprise me whatsoever. In fact, I think it's going to happen. Dwayne Johnson.
Well, yeah, okay. Now that you say that, I could totally see it's rumored the Democratic Party's talked to him before.
I've heard that as well, and it's interesting. And I'm not saying I'm interested in him as a candidate. I'm saying that.
Well, name recognition's everything.
That is
your Q score or whatever they call it.
And we are living proof of that right here in Arkansas. Can you tell me anything about the resume of our illustrious governor, Sarah Huckabee?
Hey, she got away with concealed carry permit. I did like that.
Yes, but I'm being genuine. Do you know anything about her resume?
Other than press secretary? No.
Because there's really not much else.
Well, she was the daughter of a governor.
She's daughter of a governor.
Political royalty.
She was political royalty in that respect. She was White House press
And
secretary.
also, Mike Huckabee and Trump's relationship goes way back.
It does.
And Mike Huckabee's the one over in Israel right now.
Ah.
So that's interesting.
Once again, remember how I mentioned AIPAC earlier? Yeah.
So you gonna run or what?
Depends on what it would be for, and if I'm still gonna be here. I mean, that's the kicker. We'll see. I mean, I could see myself. I mean, I don't know. Could I see myself running for maybe a state office? Possibly. If I struck a nerve with people, you know, I'd approach it the same way I approached my business. At the end of the day, when I decided I was going to open Morano's, my entire...
Which was when? When did you found that? I don't know if we talked about this
when I
last time
first
or not.
thought about it, it was probably 15 years ago. Like, legitimate, not a pipe dream. We all have that friend that says, someday I'm going to open up. I'd love to open up a bar. Legitimately, about 15 years ago was the first time I went, yes, I think that could work. All right. Next month, the bar will be open 13 years.
Nice.
But about 15 years ago was when it hit. Now, 15 years ago, the climate in Fayetteville was very different than what it is now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of places.
That was right toward the tail end of when my band stopped playing.
And that
we
was
stopped
also
playing in 2012. Yeah.
That was when you saw I think you're old enough to remember. Remember when almost every venue on Dixon Street had a cover charge to get into?
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them did.
Yeah.
And when people ask me why the music scene has died as much as it has, I point to that time, because what happened...
were also original bands. Bands playing original music.
They were original bands that played original music.
We got work from, let's see, I started playing in like JR's Ballroom in 97. We were underage. We had to wear these wristbands.
Yes.
Of course, we got to know the bartender. Worked out well. But so from then until 97 until about 2000, 2001. And then the original scene kind of really died out for like hard rock original kind of stuff. And then you started seeing a lot more cover bands coming in. And then it just kind of went from there. I mean, when Chester's went out, that was devastating. It's like that was the place. Like
it was.
If there was nowhere else to go, you go fucking hang out at Chester's.
Yes, and that's
there's gonna be a kick-ass band playing.
Yep, Chester's, Dave's on Dixon.
Oh, dude, I saw so many great bands at Dave's. Man. National acts. That was the only place around here we had. Like, I saw Jerry Cantrell there.
Yes.
The Nixons there.
Yes,
Better Than Ezra.
Yes,
I mean,
a couple times.
Yeah,
Better Than Ezra. So when I started my place, it was very different. Almost every bar had smoking. In fact,
that was
only bar that I knew of was Sideways. Sideways was a non-smoking bar.
Really?
And it had not been open very long.
Right. I gotta say, I do love no smoking in bars.
Me too.
As a singer.
Me too.
Or anybody who works in a bar, probably.
As a bartender that was a non-smoking bartender, but grew up in a house that both of my parents smoked.
Oh, really?
It wasn't that smoking was foreign to me.
Right.
It was one of those things where it just
dries you out.
Yes. And we don't know. Again, there's an argument to be made about our earlier conversation. It's called protecting children from their own parents. Parents may know best, but you shouldn't necessarily get to make the decision for your children that could cause them long-term harm. Whether it is joining, particular churches, whether it is smoking, whether it is doing cocaine with them. I think we do need a certain level of parental rights toward parents. But anyway, when I decided to open, at the end of the day, the real reason, or not the real reason, but what I built was, it's almost comical for me to say it now. I put together the place that I wanted to hang out, because there was no place.
That's what I did here.
That was non-smoking,
right, live
music, good pool tables, dartboards. Daytime music was low enough to be at a conversational level, and great food. Yeah.
So you created the place you would want to go.
I created the place, and part of it was literally just kind of self-serving. I thought,
yeah, I get that.
It was never like, I'm going to make a lot of money. It was I want to have a place where I can hang out and be comfortable and enjoy myself. And if I can pay the bills, that's cool.
Well, I can understand that as like a songwriter. I write the music I would want to listen to.
Yes.
I'm not trying to fit, it's like, what would I want to rock out to in the car?
And when that happens, it's a beautiful
That's
thing.
when it's
It
magic,
nails
dude.
it, man.
Yeah.
I was fortunate in that it struck a nerve with other people.
Yeah.
And it literally touches me every time someone comes in and says, hey, this is my first time in, or even I've been here several times and I just want you to know that I love this place because da 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 da. And 9 times out of 10, what they mention is exactly the reasons I opened it. I mean, yes, these are the things that I wanted. I'm glad that you love them as well.
You probably got 2 episodes worth of bar stories.
Oh my gosh.
God, we haven't even talked on that. And not to mention, we haven't talked about any of the topics I wanted to talk about on either podcast. We just go down rabbit holes, and that's what's awesome.
Next time, just give me an outline of some stuff.
No, then it wouldn't be legit.
No, I mean, there's nothing wrong.
Because I want to talk about like the rise and fall of like rock and roll, and we can touch on it a little bit. I think my family's home, but
when do you think rock died?
I think Kurt Cobain killed it, and it wasn't his fault. It was the record label's fault by signing every fucking band that tried to be him and just saturating the world with his sound. And Nirvana was great, but he was the least that Seattle had to offer, in my opinion. You're talking about Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam, who really, Pearl Jam was a 70s band, brought forward 2 decades, in my opinion. But in the late 90s, you either went metal or you went pop. Creed was another focal point. Creed took Pearl Jam they took grunge to the harder level. They basically made it metal. And so then everybody had to heavy up. And then all of a sudden, rock disappeared. And I've heard theories on this because it was rap and pop filled that gap. Like and they were doing things rock musicians were never allowed to do. And I've heard theories that the CIA was behind some of this stuff and whatnot. But regardless, like I feel like rock by the year 2000, 2001, like there's not been another rock star. There's not been another.
It ties into what I said earlier that the pendulum swung too far.
Yeah.
You have all sons, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought. Making sure I didn't miss
3
one
boys,
somewhere.
yeah.
Yes. So I can't speak from personal experience, and I don't feel that you can either, but we can both speak because we are of age that we have plenty of friends that do have daughters, okay? When your son wanted a drum kit, did you run out and buy a drum kit for him?
No.
Okay. And I feel like that's pretty much a universal thing. We use that as a, we're going to teach you the lesson of hard work and value and saving, and this is how it works.
He put up flyers all up and down the road for...
But our friends that have daughters, when that little girl comes in and curls up on his lap and says, Daddy, I want the new Taylor Swift album. Dad says, okay.
Boy, I just don't know.
And I
don't think that's a good thing.
I don't think it's a good thing, but I think
a bunch of spoiled bitches.
I think that's the reality of what happened. I think that, cause you just said rap and pop, okay? That is the taste of every 13-year-old girl on the planet.
I know.
That's who's buying.
Nobody's dad's listening to The Who anymore.
That's who's buying albums.
Yeah.
Albums are gone. That's who was buying CDs. CDs are now gone.
Well,
so again,
to listen to a long form record would be insane nowadays. It's a single followed by another art. Like listening to 45 minutes of the same artist is inconceivable.
And forbid that it's actually one long story. You think an Operation Mindcrime.
Well, and we weren't around for it. But you think about. The album was even unheard of. It was. We've actually gone back to the way it was before the Beatles, because it used to be the 45.
Yes.
Right. You just bought the single. There were no albums, and then the Beatles started putting out full form records.
Oh, okay.
And then Zeppelin took it to the next level. We're not even fucking doing singles. You got to buy the record.
Yeah.
It's rock has come a long way.
But I mean, rock is. It's funny because we sit there and go, rock is dead. No one ever said rock was going to be eternal.
Right.
Nothing has been eternal. Well, country music's still around, right, Adam? Is modern country music
Country
anything?
music is as
2020 country music is
I
nothing
won't even use
like
that term for it. But
1990
so lame.
country music, which is nothing like 1960 country music.
Even 1980s country music.
It is. It's a different animal.
But they've done a good job adapting and morphing.
I think that it is just more
and staying relevant,
socially
I should say.
acceptable. You know, the guy that wore the cowboy hat, his great grandson probably wears a cowboy hat if he lives in Texas or New Mexico. If you were a punk rock kid in the 80s in New York City, chances are your grandkid is probably not a punk rock kid. He's probably a rap kid. He's probably a pop kid. I think country has endured in a form because that is the lowest change of lifestyle of different groups within this country. Whereas, you and I probably grew up in a similar size, smaller house. 3-bedroom, 1 bath, maybe 1.5 or 2 if we were lucky. But the house was probably 1,300 to 1,500 square feet. Yeah. And now, go look. Everyone's living in a 2,600 square foot McMansion that has granite throughout.
You have siblings?
I'm the youngest of 3, actually. I have an older brother, older sister.
Okay, right on.
So it's a different ballgame now, and we all know it. But rock didn't come along. I'm of the school of thought that, I think that rock as we know it definitely started with with black music.
New Orleans.
And then it evolved. I think that Chuck Berry and Little Richard deserve a lot of credit.
They're the godfathers of rock. I mean, that's
Eminem said it best, and Elvis used black music to get himself wealthy. I don't disagree with that.
I don't know that he intentionally was stealing it. I mean, I think he was influenced by it heavily, but
that's always going to be that's a matter of semantics, because at what point does it go from...
It was also the Wild West back then. There was no songwriting credit.
No.
You didn't get to copyright shit.
But
I don't know if he was doing it consciously or unconsciously. This is what I'm saying. As a songwriter, I've stolen riffs that I was I didn't even know that riff existed.
Yes.
And somebody else pointed it out to me. So I wrote it on my own, but I copied it. But in some cases, I'd never even heard the riff before. But even if you had, you could subconsciously write it and just think,
There's only so many riffs out there.
I don't know. There's a lot of people who demonize Elvis for being a song thief, and I'm to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he was definitely heavily influenced.
He was definitely. I agree with that. He was heavily influenced.
Yeah. But he did owe a huge debt.
Yes.
To all of those guys.
And I was glad to see that over time someone finally got some credit for it. And that was nice. It didn't have to happen, but it did happen, whether it was by hook or by crook, but it came out for the best, I think. Now, I'll always argue that the first heavy metal song to me, Helter Skelter.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more, brother. I tell my kids all the time that the first metal song is Helter Skelter. Yep. No doubt about it. 1967, dude.
Yes.
There was...
And you look at the contemporaries for that, I mean, what The Who was doing then. And then less than 5 years later, a little band called Heart came out. People don't realize the longevity that Heart has had. Yeah. And, those bands, and then Aerosmith.
And Heart also being a huge influence on that Seattle grunge scene. I mean, that's in their backyard, right? So this is a hometown hero for them. I mean, this is... You see a lot of Heart influence in those 90s grunge bands.
I think it would
have been in different ways.
Incredible being alive in that time and being a musician in that time, because one that I love to point out is Richard Steuben from the Oak Ridge Boys. As we all know, he's the famous low voice guy.
Yeah.
But what was he doing before the Oak Ridge Boys? Do you happen to know?
I don't have a clue.
I love enlightening people this. He was a background singer of a very well-known singer named Elvis Presley. He may have a low voice, but that's because the man's got huge balls, in my opinion. Because you are a backup singer for Elvis, but you have the opportunity to join this band. Who knows? Whether it was crazy, whether it was he knew something, whether he just said, what the hell, I don't want to be a backup anymore. But that's an incredible jump. And I think that is, again, that shows the uniqueness of personalities. Some people are going to take that jump. Some people are going to continue to sing and show up and not be totally happy with where they are and what they're doing. And I think there's nothing wrong with any choice that's made. And I think that's what makes the beauty of not just our society, but humankind.
Yeah. Going back to the kind of the death of rock thing, don't you miss the rock stars, the antics, the heroin overdoses, the TVs through the windows? There's something like a lot of people study theology. I studied rock history when I was growing up. It was like, when Hinstall, Tony Iommi wrote the Black Sabbath riff on this day. I just went back to some of my dad's records. They're so cool. And then I thought the 80s sucked. As far as rock music went, like everything was synthesizers and spandex, and it was metal. And like,
I think I told you last time, I am a huge Guns N' Roses fan.
Yeah, me too.
Now, I hate it, but grunge is not what killed. Like I look at GNR as that in-between band. Because it was hair bands. And initially
but they had actual substance and kick-ass behind them.
Marketed softly hairband image.
They did.
Guns N' Roses in the beginning.
I was just talking to my kids about this the other day, yeah.
And it didn't take long for them to go, okay, no.
Yeah.
Because the sound was too different from hairbands to be able, so they packaged it.
Pull that
but
off.
Then it was this dangerous rock and roll, yada, yada, yada. But Axl, and I love Axl, but they did it to themselves. Because it took the next generation coming up of Kurt going, oh, gee, someone didn't just give you green M&Ms in your rider. Oh my gosh, you're throwing a little tantrum. And it kind of outlined that, yes, it was cool to see that the same way you and I would like to sit and watch a Jerry Springer show, to watch that, incestual midget stripper with her cousin, and it's terrible, and you're sitting there eating popcorn.
That's
going
actually
like,
episode 6, episode 214.
Yes. I mean, there's certain that level of chaos that we are drawn to, which is why we all loved Guns N' Roses in that respect, and that whole rock star lifestyle.
Ozzy Osbourne was the god of antics.
But then
he was like Dionysus. He was like Jim Morrison. You hear about the antics of Jim Morrison, even John Lennon in his day, talking about and he wasn't even saying this in a derogatory way, but saying that the Beatles were bigger than Jesus, and they just were burning Beatles records.
Yes, and that's where it comes out. I'm going to tie back into Tallarico just because I think this one was interesting.
God, we're going to name this episode the Tallarico Campaign.
It should be.
You ought to get a kickback on this.
This guy says, I'm all about righting wrongs. They asked him, how do you feel about immigration? And he said, I think that we should treat it the same way that my grandpa taught me that we should treat strangers. You should put a big welcome mat on your front porch. And that is what they've been attacking. But here's the rest of the sentence. You should put a big welcome mat on your front porch, but have a strong lock on your front door.
I was about to say, there's got to be more to this.
Hugely different meaning. And of course, the side that's running the smear campaign right now chopped that because they didn't want the thought. But that's the difference between the two.
Yeah.
And it's, ties into what we were just saying. It's like you've got to have that level of acceptance, but not
suicidally empathetic.
Yes.
And suicidal empathy is a real thing. And to define that for anybody listening, it's when your empathy is so strong that it actually hurts the people you're trying to protect, or the people that you're not right. It just it's extreme anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything in moderation, right?
Yes.
But I think a lot of these liberal policies get out of control with trying to be so kind that you have these criminals who are getting out. You know, we don't want to put them in treatment care. We want to give them second chances and third chances and 13 chances. Then they murder somebody on a subway. It's like, bro, come on.
Or they get pardoned on from January 6th thing and then get picked up for pedophilia.
Come on.
It's like,
get over January 6th.
Come on. And that's what... That has been enunciated by the pundits now. It's like, I can't believe we're still talking. We're talking about it because just like you and I were talking about the beginning and the end of Rock, if we're going to talk about the end of the story, we need to talk about the beginning of the story,
You don't
too.
think that was a fucking CIA-led...
I don't think it was CIA-led. No, not at all.
FBI-led? You don't think they instigated that one half of the side of the building?
That goober from Gravit.
Yeah, there was a fucking dumbass in the audience.
And I think
there's a bunch of grandmas getting guided tours also.
At risk of, again, leaning in a little too far, I don't think it was some super plot. I don't want to even give it that much credit. I think it was literally just people going, I'm not happy with what's going on, and they told us this would be a good idea. If we don't like it, we're going to go take over. Okay? And what's the guy?
Because there was no fucking plan.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Not on their part. I'm saying...
I know two people from Northwest Arkansas that left here and were heavily armed. Took literally almost all the guns they owned, threw them in the truck, drove to Washington, D.C. By themselves.
Why? Take over the government? But you didn't see those people January 6th. None of those people were armed.
They left the guns in there, and it's kind of like we've all seen that. An individual is generally a very polite person. When individuals become a collective and they feel like they have a majority,
nasty.
They get real nasty.
Well, chimpanzees are a great example. If you've ever watching documentaries on chimpanzees, when they get tribal and
a group will always try to exploit.
Right, I'm not saying they didn't do it. I'm saying I think the FBI instigated it to make Trump look bad.
I've see that
so many of the
too conspiracy theory to me.
When Tucker released, or Mike Johnson released, or was it Kevin McCarthy, whoever it was, released all the footage, Tucker showed scenes that were totally different than the narrative we'd been fed of officers being told to stand down and throwing smoke grenades down into the crowd, and then one dude grabs one, and what's he do with it? Flings it right the fuck back. Well, now it's an attack on an officer, right? I'm just saying the police made some dumbass decisions.
They absolutely did. It was terrible decision making, but at the same time, they encountered something that we had not encountered before.
Right.
It was, well, how do we control the situation? And as a bar owner, I think at the end of the day, for the most part, the right calls were made.
Do you have security?
For the most, generally, I do not, because I don't need it. It's de-escalate, 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 de-escalate. I'm also very selective with customers. You know, when I realize, and I put the onus on the bartenders as well, when we feel like someone's getting out of control, we get them to the door real quick.
Do you have a lot of violence in the bar?
No. I am very proud of the fact that in 13 years, guess how many people I have had to physically bounce in 13 years?
I'm just going to say at least once a year, 13?
2. I have had to physically remove 2.
I don't think that's statistically.
Oh, I'm way below
bars.
Average. No, it's not.
Because I've seen.
But again,
people.
It's not about
Why
what
do you
everybody
think
else's
that
house is like. It's because I make sure that my bartenders don't overindulge people. Number one, I put a big onus on them, and I'm all over them. I recently had one. I say one that's.
So how do you gauge that their behavior? I mean, obviously,
that's a big part. It's a big part, and
how they're handling themselves.
I tell them this: it's like you can make someone have a bummer night, and you will save them from having a terrible week.
Right.
Because if you tell them, hey, hey, Brad, you've had 6 beers. I think you've had enough.
Right.
Yeah, Brad's going to be upset about that. And Brad's going to be like, hey, I'm fine. I can have more than that. But we're going to say politely no and send you on your way. And you're going to come back a few days later and you go, I guess I did. I mean, I was feeling, I woke up the next morning and man. So you knock it off before it starts.
Yeah.
Another thing is we are very much self-patrolled. I mean, my regulars are bulldogs within their own rights because
And
this
you
is
do have
their
a lot of
house.
regular.
I do.
Well,
I do.
to be fair, every time I go to see the same band, so that
But
might not be fair
it's a
evaluation.
people, they don't want you to mess up their house too, and they feel like it is their house.
Yeah.
So you come in acting
That's got to
a
be
fool.
cool to have that regular
It
customer
is.
base.
It is. One of the 2 times I had to get physical, a guy who towered over me. I'm 5'10". This guy's probably 6'5", 6'6", and he had a few of his buddies with him. And it was a really fun but mellow exchange. I have always been a de-escalate. And I went up and I said, hey, it's time to go. Obviously, we can't give you what you are looking for, and it's time to go. And he did the sneering, who's going to make me? And I said, well, that would be me. And I have a pretty famous line, which is, there's 2 ways this can happen. You can either go out that door willfully and you'll be welcome back tomorrow, or I can help you out the door and you'll never be welcome back again. But either way, I promise you will be going out that door. Make your choice. You don't survive in the industry that long with not being able to handle yourself. So there's that part. But he quickly sneered at me again and went, I think you need to check your surroundings. And he had, I don't know, 2 or 3 friends. And I smiled because what he didn't realize was as soon as he said that, the bar stool started scooting back and the regulars all started getting up. And I said, no, I think you should check your surroundings. Now, his friends backed down real quick because they realized they were badly outnumbered, but he was still trying to run with the alpha male thing. But and when I say I didn't have to wrestle him out, but I definitely had a hand on him to make sure he didn't turn back around and escort him to the door, and that was that,
Sounds like a good movie scene.
I mean, it's always been fun. I love what I do. I really do. And
What made you want to start that? Like, what inspired that dream?
I started. I worked corporate America, and a buddy of mine that was the general manager of the old Cafe Santa Fe. Long story short, it was a middle of the week, middle of the afternoon, and they went from having 2 customers to about 45 customers in 10 minutes. And he said, "Do you think you can help me pour a beer?" And I said, "If you show me how." And that's kind of how it started. Well, I enjoyed the interaction. I enjoyed the action. And it was one of those things that they always say, do something you enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life. And there's a tremendous amount of truth to that.
Yeah, there is.
And now it's parlayed that even when I'm doing the not as fun stuff. Today, I was fixing a toilet. I spent 2 hours clearing a line, pulling a toilet, running an auger down it. That's the not so fun part.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect my attitude whatsoever. At the end of it all, I washed my hands, changed my clothes, and here I am.
I do appreciate that before you came out.
Absolutely.
That was very nice of you.
It's interesting. I love what I do. I love the interactions I have with people more than anything else. And
well, I do want to thank you for letting us play
absolutely
at your venue. We're really
excited about it. Really excited.
On so many levels. Like, it's the first show I'm playing with my dad and my son. Well, actually, we played Durham Fest last year, but it's kind of a short set. But like, this is our first show. As I don't know, it's 3 generations.
If there is a Durham Fest this year, I will definitely be at it. I had every intention of attending last year. It was one of those days when chaos just fell upon the bar. I had a freezer go out the day of Durham Fest. That's how I remember it very well.
I remember it very well because the power was out. Do you remember the storms?
Yes.
We didn't have power, so everybody was running to get generators. And Mill Creek's a long way out, and by the time everybody got back, the power was on. So everybody wasted all the time.
You remember the stories,
But we had a great turnout despite a lot of people, had power out at home, and it was a bad day for a lot of people. A lot of people had some hardships that day, which really sucked. But we still had a great turnout. It was a lot of fun. Played technically Outlaw King's first set. He played at Durham Fest 2, but we only did 1 song. It was me and him and Dad. We did 1 song. He was basically just doing 4/4, and then within the next year, he wanted to do like a set, and so Dad was down with that, and then he actually got so good. I was like, man, we could really turn this into something. Like, you're kind of a freak. And I'm a hard judge on this kind of stuff. I'm not just one of those guys that's going to tell your kids, good job when they suck.
Sure.
Like, I want to encourage, but also, Dad and I both in practice are like, hey, here's some constructive criticism. You're young. This is, it's just inexperience is the only thing holding him back. But, he's putting in the work. Talent is only half of it. The greats don't just rely on talent. I mean, you look at Matt Jones, our Arkansas quarterback, went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Could have been the greatest fucking wide receiver of all time. Didn't put any effort into it. Was out of the NFL doing coke in a parking lot a couple years later. And his coach, Jack Del Rio, said, I've never seen more talent wasted than I have with Matt Jones. So, talent is jack shit. It's the work. The kid hadn't played a video game in 2 years. If he gets a chance to have free time, it's on the drums. And that's all he's doing. And it's like, I wouldn't have booked a show if I didn't think it was going to impress people. It's like, he's ready. We're all ready. We've been practicing for... Durham Fest was in June last year, so we probably started, fairly soon after that. So it's been about 9 months of kind of, with a new group. My dad had always played in cover bands. This is the first original band he's played in. So this is a big transition for him, going from learning somebody else's solo to writing your own,
What bands did your dad play in?
Well, mostly he played in the Basics up here in Northwest Arkansas, which they did a lot of more private events and kind of stuff. They were cover band weddings, but they were damn good. Lynn Gann, I don't know if he was in Ultra Suede for a minute. Great keyboard player, but all of his experience was cover stuff, and so that was transition for him. And then Kurt, our bass player, he was my best friend growing up. It's his dad. He played bass, and we needed a bass player, so I just called him up. I was like, hey, you're retired now. Like, you got time to do this? And he didn't have a ton of experience playing out either. Me and Dad got tons and tons and tons of live experience, so it was kind of a mesh of young and old and experienced and not, and it just happened organically. The songs came together. Most of them are from like when Durham stopped playing in 2012, so that we started working up stuff I worked up for the next album. Plus we're writing new stuff, so just whatever song comes into the bank, we're working up and until we had enough to have a set, plus some covers. And it's like, let's make sure we're gelling, and it took a minute, because you're all new people playing together. When Durham gets together, we hadn't played in 12 years when we did Durham Fest 1, and it took us about 20 minutes until we hit it. And then you're in that, and after all that time. But you got to create that groove. You got to get there. You got to earn it.
Yes.
It's everybody understanding, okay, he's a half second behind, so I need to drop back a little bit for him, and he's a half step early, so we all, you all just figure it out, and then it just rocks in. And we got that groove, and that's, I waited to book a show until we got it. And
it's awesome.
And so, yeah, it's electric. So we're super excited to come out, and thanks for hosting us. It's going to be fucking fun, man.
We're going to have a good time.
And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me back.
And we covered a lot of shit.
We did.
A lot of shit. I love that. I love that you're, you got a...
You're a good conversationalist, and I appreciate that.
Likewise, sir. It's a lost art, and I miss it. I miss just talking. I remember growing up and listening to my grandparents talk, and you're playing with the cousins. It's like, wow, they're telling stories in there, It's like, I miss that.
I agree.
Maybe the electrical grid will go out soon if this war escalates, and we'll get back to campfire stories.
There we go.
And we'll just start campfire band nights. We got acoustic guitars, shit. As long as you got music and food, I'm sure we could, over time, grow some barley and make some beer.
I think we can do it.
Yeah. I think we'll survive if the world crashes out. Thank you, brother.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
We'll see you Saturday night.
Looking forward to it.
All right, brother.